Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone. Did you miss us? Did you miss me? I know you missed me.
So, welcome to part 2 of the 5-part series
Of the
on.
hellhole of March.
Hey.
What?
I
It's
think
true.
I rather like March. In fact, just a couple days ago, we went book shopping and I found books for other Marches because I have just decided that March is just going to be the month where I go hardcore in on cults and stuff. So,
I'm
or
really
the bigger ones
sorry.
anyway.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for people who are listening this year because we're doing like one thing that's like cut up over all of the episodes this month, and then in July I'm doing a big story and it's a lot of science. I'm really sorry.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I'm gonna try and make I'm trying to make, so just a heads up for people who are like listening to this and they're like, oh, the first episode was just not as much political intrigue as I wanted, which I don't know if I'm using that term properly, but I just don't want to bog down with too much details. If you're a historian and this is what you're interested in, you can go read a textbook. But I want people to be able to listen to this and understand it. I want to make it accessible to people who just don't have the brain for all of that political shit. I want to make it as basic as possible. So if you were like upset that the last episode didn't have as much of political explanations as you wanted, go read the books because they go in depth. But if I want the drama, okay? We're here for the drama, nothing else. So my big episodes in July, I'm going to have a lot of science. I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can because it makes sense to me because I really like what this topic is about, but I'm going to try and do my bare bones explanation of science, and I'm going to try to use as much analogies as I can.
So I don't know what I'm going to be doing for July. I know one of my cases, I know at least 2 cases. One of them might be a 2-parter. One of them might just be a small little thing off to the side. I think I have to find one more because I don't know how many weeks there are in July this year. Anyway, are you excited to jump back into everything? Or are you just not here for it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you.
This is Dora the Explorer. We're asking the audience. We're going to sit here in silence for 5 seconds while you decide. Are you happy for us to be here?
No,
Awesome.
I hated that actually.
Yeah, this episode, I'm so like I said, I've been researching this topic for a very long time. I've been researching the Romanovs for a pretty long time. And I am not getting into all of it. I have actively had to cut shit out because there's so much information I physically cannot fit it all into this episode. So if I skimp on some shit and you're just like, but you didn't mention that, I know. Okay, I know. But if we sat here and went over every single details of these people's lives, we would be here for 50 hours. And I'm trying to not do that to you guys. So
Yeah,
I'm
the
excited to
first
be here.
episode was just so long.
Oh my god, this is probably gonna be longer. I'm so sorry, guys. But that episode, like, oh my god, just the story today. There were so many points where I was upstairs and I would turn to Psychos and be like, I can't deal with this girl anymore. I just cannot. If you want drama, last episode had drama. This episode has like a little bit of drama. The next episode is dramatic. It's not drama, it's just dramatic.
There is like threads of drama throughout mine. My next episode for this series is not going to be fun. It's going to be pretty long. So you're going to like, I would not recommend snacking during my section for next episode. I will warn you at the beginning of next episode.
For you guys.
I don't recommend it, babe. I really don't.
Chugging cranberry juice.
Woo!
I don't have a UTI. I just really like cranberry juice, which is hilarious because when I started drinking cranberry juice, Psychos shit on me so hard, right?
And then they were like, "Can
I have a?" Yeah, because my grandfather said that you should drink 1 cup of cranberry juice a day. So, Psychos shit on me for it, right? And then they were like, "Can I have a little sip?" And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, babe." And now we literally have to get like the gigantic thing of like the 2-gallon whatever thing of fucking ocean spray diet cranberry juice.
This is slander.
We have to get it every week because we'll go through that thing in a week. I'm drinking a 24-ounce container of cranberry juice right now.
And I have water and a Monster because I was
I also have a
trying to
Monster.
do my notes earlier and then I just kept falling asleep. And I was just like, fuck. And we have to record tonight. Fuck.
It's been a very long day. It's been a very long 2 weeks. I'm very sorry for the fact that we took off last week, which is actually this week. But
yeah, this episode was supposed to come out in 2 days.
2 days, yeah. Unfortunately, I had some very unfortunate things happen on both sides of my family within the same month, and it was not easy. Thankfully, I didn't get hit with too much of the brunt of it, but I needed to step away and just kind of be in the moment with my family. But it has since kind of eased up, and also I just registered for classes. Yay me. So got that shit show figured out. So now we're here.
I am so proud of you for that.
And
that makes me so happy.
Everyone celebrate. Mythos finally got the backbone to ask for a day off.
Yeah,
so
no.
I now have
after
one day off a week.
How many times did I yell
after
at you?
Our boss literally walked in and was like, "Hey, do you have enough time for your podcast?" And I was like, maybe, not really. And she was like, you should take a day off. And I was like, well, I'm thinking of this day or this day. She's like, take both days off. I'm like, no, I can't take 2 days off a week. I was like, I'll do one for now. You're not getting 2 out of me. But our boss, literally the owner of our company, came up to me and was like, you need to like take a day off a week. So thanks.
Which is awesome that we have somebody who's so supportive.
Oh my god, it was great. And then I just text our GM and I was like, hey, can I have a day off? It's either this week or this week. She's like, yeah, I'll let you know when I'm back off vacation. She took me off for her birthday, which happy birthday, by the way. Not saying your name, but we love you. Starbean, right? That's her name. Starbean in the group chat.
Starbean, I'm pretty
love
sure.
You, Starbean. So I text Starbean and I was like, hey, can I have like a day off a week? I don't Monday or Wednesday works fine. And she was like, yeah, I'll let you know. And then like said nothing, and then the schedule got posted and it was like, Mythos doesn't work on Wednesdays. And I was like, thank you. She's like, of course. All my coworkers congratulated me on finally taking a day off. If that tells you how much I've been at work.
Thankfully, you finally got that day off, which means I don't have to deal with your tired and grumpy self.
I am such a bitch when I don't get a day off.
And it's honestly not that bad. But
I cry a lot. If I work a lot of days in a row, I start crying. I'll come home and I'll start crying.
Yeah, it gets really worrying.
Starbean, if you're listening to this, you didn't hear that. She'll text us and be like, Mythos, why do you cry? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Starbean and Mama Bean, if you're listening to this, no, you're not.
No, you didn't.
Are we ready? Yeah, are you ready to dive into everything?
Is no an option?
No.
Okay, what's your question?
What do you remember from last time?
Oh god, you're gonna out me on the podcast for this. Okay, so I have this problem where whenever we sit down to do the episode, I'll like listen, but I won't like process. So I actually relearned. I learned what Psychos's case for the first time when I was editing the fucking episode. And the thing is, I retained just about the same amount of information. So, dude is like, mom basically makes him like Jesus, but not Jesus. There's a thing called an inganga, which is the pot that like put the body parts in, and it's like sacred.
You remember the inganga?
Yeah, they can't like look into it like a Chernobyl. And he
it's the elephant foot.
It's the elephant's foot, and then he moves to California.
No, he lived in Miami. He grew up in Miami.
Oh, fuck Miami. He lived in Miami. I can say that I'm from Florida because I give off big Florida man energy.
You do.
He was at like a cafe or restaurant or something, and some dude, I forgot his name, Omar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, saw him and was like, oh, he knew me right away. And then he lived with someone, and he lived with a model, an ex-model, right? And the model was like gay, but he called him his nephew, but they weren't related, but they also were like lovers. And so then all three of them ended up kind of being lovers, but the two of them hated each other.
No. Okay, you're kind of right, but kind of wrong.
Why do you always say I'm wrong on the gay shit?
Adolfo,
Adolf. Yeah. He's the middle one. He's the cult leader.
He's the cult leader. He lived in Miami, moved to Mexico City, where we're currently at in the story.
Oh,
he is living in Mexico City.
Right.
He's going back and forth, kind of, but
Tell yourself.
He mostly hangs out in Mexico City for a good portion of this. Jorge Montes was the ex-model, and he's the one that
Jorge.
introduced Omar to Adolfo. They might have had a thing going. Wasn't a whole lot of evidence to suggest it.
Wait, back up. So Jorge,
Mhm.
he's the one that had Omar come live with him,
Mhm.
and that was the like, we think they're gay, but we don't want to say anything because they have cute dogs. That was that people, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's where I get confused.
Yeah.
And then he introduces him to Adolfo.
Yeah, and then
To Mr.
Adolfo.
Adolf.
Okay. Adolfo at this time also has another lover named Martin. Now, Martin and Omar do not like each other. Like, they'll work together just because, but like,
Okay, so Jorge is not involved in this
love
triangle.
That's gonna be a lot
Omar
messier.
is the bottom,
yes.
and then Adolfo is the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and what's the other guy's name?
Martin.
Martin is the top.
I'm so glad this is how you're remembering this.
If I'm not using the correct terms for this, please, I am begging you, give me mercy. I am a gay man. I'm a gay something. I'm a something. I'm a gremlin, and
That's
I
what you are.
only date psychos. And whatever terms we use is what we use.
Are we dating now? I thought we were married.
We're something. You kicked me into the basement, so right now we're dating.
Okay, got it. So, where we last left off was I had just talked to you and taught you somewhat about Palamayombe and Santeria.
Yeah. The kind of like good and evil one.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's not like good and evil, but it's like almost life and death kind of good and dark. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point in time, it is like mid 1984.
Okay.
Rodolfo is like living in Mexico City permanently.
The 80s.
Yeah.
Cult leaders and cocaine.
You're not wrong. We'll get to the cocaine next episode.
There's cocaine.
Dude.
Fair enough.
There's so much cocaine. There's a lot of marijuana too. But that's next episode.
Nah.
Oh, actually, the marijuana might be at the end of this one. We'll see. We'll see how far into my notes we get.
There's marijuana everywhere, man.
There really is.
We live in the north. There's marijuana everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are. Literally.
God. We left off where, like, obviously Martin, Omar, and Adolfo had this very, like, high-strung, very abusive relationship.
Uh-huh.
So we're gonna switch kind of gears here for a second, where instead of talking about the relationship right now, we're gonna talk more about like his businesses and like what he's up to at this point in time. Adolfo was working in La Zona Rosa, which is a red light district of Mexico City.
Oh my god, I have a Rosa.
Not the monster, baby.
Me, I'm the monster.
Oh my god.
We got the monster. We got the Gouda.
Anyway, so he's like working as witch for like a number of clients. He used Jorge, Omar's friend, as like a draw for new clients. And like he would be like, okay, Jorge, you work your usual clientele, but if they have anything else, send them to me. It's like stuff that Jorge can't really do because Jorge mostly does like the tarot readings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike everybody else, like who's doing the same thing, Adolfo, and I mentioned this last episode, it was like specifically stated that Adolfo didn't sound like a fortune cookie. He sounded legit. He sounded like
specific, right?
Things. Yeah, he was super specific. So for like clients that wanted a bit more information or wanted like certain like cleansings done, Jorge would send them over to Adolfo. And this worked for a little bit, but it kind of became clear that Adolfo was running the show. So careful not to let like Jorge get bitter because Adolfo is essentially stealing his clients.
Mm-hmm.
He brought him closer and he told him that Adolfo needed him to help with like animal sacrifices because he was the only one. Allegedly, he was the only one that could do that.
Bro, fuck that.
Adolfo offered him more and more power. In exchange, Jorge would become Adolfo's like little helper and like voucher for certain people. So
Okay.
like, hey, I'm gonna steal your clients, but I'm gonna give you more power like within this like small group we're forming. You can help me with these things. Like, I know I'm taking something from you, but I'm giving you something back. I'm giving you this knowledge
I
that you
mean,
don't have before.
makes sense, I guess.
Yeah,
But it's I don't trust it. I
you
don't know
shouldn't.
why. Something about the situation feels like a red flag.
You'd be surprised.
Can't imagine what it could be.
Oh my gosh. So, rumors would quickly fly around about a young man who would dress all in white, who could read your shells or cards and conduct like rituals for like a price.
Okay.
At first, like these prices were modest, like like a couple pesos here, a couple pesos there, and
Uh-huh.
eventually the more clients he got, he started asking for money in American cash because American currency had a bit more.
Like value?
Yeah.
Like the exchange rate's higher.
hmm And then they increased to like the thousands in like American money.
Really?
Yeah, it was a lot, but a lot of
So okay, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
no. So whenever he first started doing this, he was like making a couple bucks here and there because most of his clients were other entertainers or
Like
sex workers,
local,
and
yeah.
yeah.
They didn't have that much income to blow.
hmm
But
And
I'm
then
sure like rumor got out that this guy was like crazy accurate and they were like, dude, you gotta go look at this shit.
yeah, no, like this dude was legit. But then he started drawing in like people who sold drugs. So
Ooh,
some of so yeah, because that's his goal is eventually to
drugs.
get. Yeah, no, drugs play a huge role in this
But
case.
wasn't he like non-alcoholic?
He drank alcohol, but he wasn't allowed to do drugs, but selling drugs.
Oh,
He
right.
could be in the drug trafficking business. He
He
just
just
couldn't.
can't
Mhm.
partake in the inventory.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ooh,
Yeah,
drama.
and that causes problems next episode. But yeah, Adolfo was essentially broke when he came to Mexico City, but
Tag
within that,
yourself.
yeah, when he God.
Sorry.
Okay, but within a year of like being in Mexico City, he
Mm-hmm.
was like flush with cash and he was not afraid to flaunt it. Like it was said that he was covered in so much jewelry that he jingled when he walked.
Oh my god, me. I jingle when I walk. That's my keys though. I have like 5 pairs of keys.
But that was like what was that's just how much money he had. Um he would talk about this like on the phone back home with his mom, like who would like be like, dude, no, this is what you deserve. Like she assured him that he was getting what he was owed, like essentially by the universe.
Mhm.
And he would send her money and gifts and stuff, and then he would shower his lovers in gifts as well. He bought Martina a brand new car, and
He
this
was
would
a
not.
whoa. I was gonna say he's a sugar daddy, but geez, a new car?
Yeah, and this would not be the first car he bought for him.
Brusky.
Yeah,
Brusky. Is
and
he still
then
working in the red light district at this point?
yeah.
You can't drive around the red light district in a Ferrari?
I don't remember what kind of car it was, but it wasn't
It's,
that nice.
a Kia. He
No.
bought him a Kia Soul.
So on top of buying Martin a new car, he took Omar out on a $10,000 shopping spree for his birthday.
What can you buy for $10,000?
Fucking clothes,
Like,
jewelry,
jeez.
everything. Like
Like,
homeboy
here's
was Omar had expensive taste. Okay.
okay, can
He
I
grew up.
just be a bitch for a second?
Oh
I
god.
don't understand name brands. It's the same basic ass clothing with some stupid ass, basic ass like logo embossed on the fucking shirt, and it's $80 for some fucking reason, but it comes from the same fucking factory that like shit from like fucking Wish is coming from. So you're really not getting quality there. I
Yeah,
don't
but this is
understand
back
name
in
brand
the
shit.
80s.
It's worse somehow.
No, because back in the 80s, that's whenever the quality control was a little bit better. You're not like dealing with drop shippers, you're not dealing with fast fashion, you're not dealing with that kind of stuff yet. And you're dealing with,
So they were paying for the same quality of stuff that I get now from Target.
I don't know.
Probably.
It's just nicer stuff than what Omar is used to because Omar grew up poor.
Mhm.
He did not come from a very well off family.
Mhm.
And then you have this dude who comes along and is willing to blow tens of thousands of dollars on you. And, like, this is not the first time this dude drops, like, a shit ton of money on him. And it's not the last time either.
Jesus Christ.
Like, that is how, like, you'll see it later on, but that's generally how Adolfo kind of gets back into Omar's good graces, is by taking him on shopping spree. So if, like, he
Wonder I've heard that
pisses...
before.
Oh my god.
I said I was gonna keep my mouth shut before. I didn't say I'd do it this time.
Okay, well, but, like, anytime that, like, they got into, like, these huge, like, knockout, drag out fights, like, verbally, or Omar was feeling particularly jealous over one partner or another, Adolfo would take him out, go shopping.
I hate
So,
bitches.
I do too. It's fine. But to be fair, he was making 30,000 to 40,000 per appointment at times.
Holy shit!
So he is
this
making
USD
bank.
or is
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Oh my god! Is this
Yeah.
inflated or not? Well, I mean, I guess it
don't-
doesn't matter anyway.
No,
It's just money regardless.
This is by, like, 1990s money, because that's when the book was written.
Broski!
That is a ton of money.
Holy shit!
I should have, like, put it through the inflation calculator.
I don't think I
whenever
want to
did my
know.
notes.
I
I don't
wanna
know either. So now I'm going to talk about a few clients of his.
Ooh.
So the first one was a struggling realtor named Francisco.
Okay.
Now, he told this dude that he can help him, but he had to give Adolfo his soul. Now, normally, I wish I was joking. Normally, this would send, like, people running for, like, the nearest Catholic church, like, crossing themselves, like, throwing themselves into the confessional booth, like, oh my god. Most people would. Like, he's only dropped that, like, oh, I can really help you with what you need help with a few times.
It won't cost much. Just your voice. That's what this sounds like to me.
Pretty much. So, like, he's only ever done that, like, a few times. And this is one of the times. But Francisco, unfortunately, was desperate. So he agreed.
See, my dumbass would have been like, sure, take it. He's bullshit anyway. But I guess if you're asking him for help, you don't think it's bullshit that he can have your soul. But let's be fucking real here. It's bullshit. Well, actually, I don't know, because he's really accurate with his fortune telling. Does that get explained later, or do we just not know?
It kind of... Okay.
Is this the Grigory Rasputin of your case?
Yeah, kind of. I'm about to get into it, because he's about to drop, like, the biggest, like, prediction bomb that... Even
Is it
if
accurate?
It's incredibly accurate. Even if he has, like... And there's no way that he could have predicted it, like, at all.
Really?
Like, there's no way that he had, like, the information that was, like, fed to him to, like, drop it. Because, like, later on, you do find out that he does have some information being fed to him. And then
Like Jim Jones?
Kind of. And then he just, like, fills in the gaps from there. Like, it was, like, half intuition, half actual...
I feel like
information.
That's kind of like with me, how when people will come to me for advice and I give them advice and I am like almost always, I'm very rarely wrong. And people will be like, how do you know? And I'm like, I've just seen enough shit that it makes sense. That's probably what he was doing, where it's like this and then this and then this. This is probably what's going to happen because that's like the normal human reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's probably how he was just like, oh, this is somehow going to end up like this. This is probably what got them there in the first place. This is the information I'm going to go off with.
Yeah. Like, and of course, like, he was always very specific with things. Like, even in the early days when he did not have, like, the connections to know specific details about people, because later on he does make a few connections, like, in, like, with the federal police and stuff, to start, like, really digging into people's backstory and, like, pulling information. But we'll get into it, because even with his, like, informant people, he was still right on the money. And there are a few things where, like, even with the information he's getting, there's not really a good way to predict certain things that happen, that end up happening. So I genuinely do think it was, like, a mix of, like, actual, like, talent combined with, like, good information.
Yeah.
But this client, no fucking idea how he managed to predict what happens.
Okay, so the suspense is killing me. Just tell me already.
So Adolfo, like, gives him this price because, like, this dude's desperate for help. He's, like, poor, he's struggling, he's a realtor. So Adolfo performs a limpia, which is the cleansing ritual, and casts, like, the cowrie shells. and he tells Francisco to buy this plot of land that was absolute garbage. So Francisco does.
He's going for the underdog.
And then on September 19th, 1985, Mexico City was rocked by an 8.1 magnitude earthquake, killing thousands and leaving many homeless. This shitty plot of land survived, and the government bought it from Francisco for $250,000, like American dollars.
Holy shit, dude. Sorry. Holy shit, dude.
I told you, there was like, how are you supposed to fucking predict that bad of an earthquake? How are you supposed to predict an earthquake in general?
Oh my god.
I told you. So, like, in gratitude, Francisco paid for a luxury vacation for Adolfo, Omar, and Martin, and then he told Adolfo that he would do anything for him. Adolfo
Don't say that.
No,
Don't
Adolfo
say that.
literally smiled and said, "I know."
Oh,
And that was
it. He was
that was
in.
it.
Hook, line,
He
and
was-
sinker.
Yeah, because, dude, how are you going to justify this dude who predicted a fucking earthquake? Like, how are you gonna, like, your brain physically
like, "Oh."
cannot debunk that?
I bet you $20. He was totally talking out of his ass.
Who, Adolfo?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
He was probably talking out of his ass. Or he was like, I'm gonna orchestrate someone buying this plot of land from you and like doing something with it. And then this earthquake happened, and Adolfo was like, I didn't anticipate this, but I'll take it.
Who knows? Who fucking knows? But that fucking sold. Next was Maria del Rocio Cuevas Guerra, who was a former model. There's a lot of like former models and shit in this story.
I'm not surprised.
Who was a close friend of Delia's, so Adolfo's mom.
Okay.
And allegedly, while she was visiting Adolfo for a reading, he stepped outside for like some air and then walked off his own balcony. So she races downstairs, expecting to find her friend's son as like this pile of goo and shit. Instead, she finds him about to walk back inside, acting like nothing was wrong. And when she questioned the crowd, everybody was like, "Yeah, we saw him fall and hit the car. The car itself had like the roof was caved in, like something heavy fell on it." And like Adolfo would like wave this whole thing away, like calling it just a story. But I think he did that on purpose, because if you like, oh, it's just a story, but people are like adding more to it, it builds up your own like personal mythos. It's like, I'm a celebrity. Yes, I walked right off a balcony that was several stories high and onto a car, and I survived without a scratch.
I'm sorry. Hang on. So did he actually do this, or is he bullshitting this story?
Here's the thing. He was never the one to tell the story. Everybody else was. He never told that story.
So everyone else watched this man walk off of his... How high is this balcony?
A couple stories.
That had to have been staged, though.
I don't know, but he refused to talk about it. Like, he never talked about it. He would only, like, wave it away as, like, oh, it's just a story.
Oh my god, you know why? Probably because he fucking meant to try to kill himself and failed.
Dude, he was like in the middle of an appointment.
I can't handle this bitch anymore. And literally just walked. No clip, like fucking clipped through the railing. Just walked off the balcony.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Have you ever seen the photo? Total side tangent. Have you seen the photo of the most beautiful suicide?
No, I don't want to.
It's this woman who like threw herself off a balcony and she landed on a car. And the way that the car, like, she fell and the way that the car fell in, like, the way that the roof caved in, she looks like she's asleep. And she looks, like, peaceful. And the car looks like a blanket almost. I'm gonna send you a photo of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And honestly, it looks staged. It looks not real. Like, it looks like a painting. It really does. There's a whole story behind it. I'm texting it to you.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that fucking crazy? That's the actual photo. It's colorized, but that's the actual photo.
I think I have.
So when you mention that, all I can imagine is Adolfo just like that.
I mean, honestly, that's probably what he was going for, but yeah.
Just like gracefully falling off of his fucking balcony, being like Looney Tunes, like diving, like bye bitch.
Anyway, so
just Bugs Bunny off the railing. Okay.
Now, after this, Maria immediately becomes like a follower of Adolfo and eventually becomes an occasional lover. He was racking up the bitches. He had hella hoes.
Ugh, I love that for him.
So, question mark? So,
Do I love that for
she
him?
joins, like, the ranks of people that he's sleeping with. His
Okay.
main 2 people will
Is
always
Omar and
Martine,
Martine.
and, like, like, at the end of everything, you find out that Martine was really his main one,
His main bitch.
his main bitch.
Amazing.
She would work tirelessly to bring him new clients, and it would spend up to $6,000 US dollars on her services before Adolfo decided that to really help Maria's chronic bad luck that she needed a cambia de cabello ritual, which basically means changing of the head. Now, what this would do, not like that.
Okay. Okay. You scared me there.
What this would basically do is replace the Orisha assigned to her with one who would work in her favor instead of against her, because she's having really bad luck. And so everybody's like, not everybody, but like Adolfo was like, oh, the Orisha that was assigned to you from birth just does not like you. It's working against you. We got to swap it out with one that will work.
Is she part of the religion?
She is now. Yeah.
But she
She,
wasn't born into it.
no.
So
Which
how
is,
does she have one from birth? Does everyone have one? Or is she bullshitting?
according to Adolfo, everybody has one. Um, everybody had, like, to him, everybody has the capabilities of becoming indoctrinated into the religion. And I don't know if it was just a him thing, which is why I had like that huge like disclaimer in the first episode, where I don't know. I genuinely don't know if it's one of those things where you have to be from this like bloodline in order for it to work or not,
Okay.
or like any of it, because he plays fast and loose with that throughout the entire case. And so it kind of becomes like it's a weird spot. But she's included in it later. She doesn't participate in the murders though. So,
Okay, so we're giving her a new. What was it
Orisha.
called? Arisha?
Mhm.
Okay, we're giving her new Arisha. Cool.
So 12 animals were then sacrificed over a course of a few weeks
Okay.
to appease the Orishas, and once it was
Okay.
complete, Maria had a new Orisha and a new name. Her
Ooh.
new name was now Carla.
Oh. That's boring. Sorry to
She
the Carlas out there.
she adopted it, and her luck began to turn around. She started to get modeling gigs again, and she began to see Adolfo on a more regular basis as his lover.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Mm-hmm.
warned her that she should never
Never cheat on me.
no. He warned her that should she tell any outsiders about their magic together, then that it would have a bad effect on her. Basically, in other words,
If you
keep
tell anyone, you're gonna
quiet.
die.
Yeah, keep quiet or I'll kill you. But it's fine.
Cool, 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 cool.
Yes.
Awesome.
So she doesn't get fully indoctrinated the way like some of the other cult members are. She just becomes a follower in the sense.
Okay.
So the final one that Humes brings up during this time period is the most important in my opinion. Damien or Damiana was either a trans woman or a drag queen who was seeking revenge when she came to Adolfo. I'm choosing to refer to her as Damiana and using she, her pronouns for her.
Okay.
Now, she was hired to sing at one of the local gay bars, and she was not being paid for her time. When she became insistent about getting her fucking money, the owner had her beaten and kicked out.
Rude.
Yeah, so she went to Adolfo, paid him $500, and in exchange, he gave her a statue of the Orisha Elegua, I think. Yeah. She wrote down the owner's name 3 times on a slip of paper, covered it with chicken blood, and put it inside the statue, leaving it on a fresh grave. In addition to this, Adolfo sent a bag with a dead chicken and several warning letters to the owner's doorstep. The owner, who was both superstitious and an alcoholic, ended up drinking himself into an early grave, and Damiana converted immediately. So this is the first time that one of the rituals actually killed somebody, but it was
Okay.
explained away as being justice from the Orishas because nobody escapes it. But the reason why I say that this is the most important one out of the 3 initial new recruits is because Adolfo started to wonder what it would actually be like to physically kill somebody. And of course, like, the his padrino had like put the idea in his head when he was younger, like years and years ago, but now one of his rituals to kill somebody, so now he's thinking about it.
Okay.
Adolfo would go on to initiate Martin, Omar, and Jorge into Palomayombe the same way that he had been. Unlike his own, like, Rayado and Palo, instead of setting them free to do, like, their own thing, like he had been, Adolfo declared himself to be their padrino, that they had no god and they must obey him. And all three of them said that they would, or they would die trying. Now,
Okay.
as more and more people joined, the original three would remain the inner circle for years, and they would protect the Nganga. Now, at this point, up until 1985, Adolfo did not have his own Nganga as of yet. But this was about to change. You later find out that he has, like, Ngangas in, like, several different cities, but this is the very first Nganga that he's created.
Mm-hmm.
So in mid-1985, Adolfo and his inner circle would visit a cemetery, finding the grave of a man who'd been dead less than a year. Like all Palomayombe rituals, this had to be done when the moon was waxing. The waning moon was a time of danger, and no rituals were ever to be conducted during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Now back to the grave robbing bit. This man had to have lived or died in a violent manner. The more violent, the better. The spirit would have no problems doing whatever Adolfo asked it to do. The body parts that they decided to collect from the body were the skull, the tibias, ribs, toes, and fingers.
He hasn't had an Nganga yet?
Not yet.
Bro, what are you doing?
You're like, dude, get your
Bro,
Nganga.
get your shit together.
¿Dónde está your Nganga?
¿Dónde está your Nganga, dude?
Anyway. So.
I'm so funny.
Yeah, so no, but they also had to wait till the moon was right because they had to do it during a waxing moon because of
Can't do it. Stars.
Not today. Because the waning moon is bad. But they found one. They found the grave.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's
they found
a fact.
Oh my god.
That's a witch fact. It is true. If you want to do something, you have to do it on the waxing moon, not the waning moon.
Okay.
So that's a rock fact.
So, yeah, but they also had to find the graveyard of a dude. Like, not the graveyard. The grave of a dude who...
They had to find a whole dude's graveyard.
Had to find the grave of a dude who, like, either lived violently or died violently in order for it to work.
Are you, tag yourself, are you lived violently or you died violently? I think I'm died violently.
I think I lived violently.
I think I died violently.
Weird.
I've always said that I think in a past life I was executed, like with a shot to the head.
Okay. Well,
I've told you that before.
I know, but we're getting really off track.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine. So they collected these, like, the skull, the tibias, the ribs, the bones, and the fingers from the body.
Phalanges and ligaments, yep.
Essentially. The skull would provide intelligence, spirit, and soul for the Nganga. Okay. The rest would give the Nganga the ability to walk and grab things.
Fuck that. I thought the Nganga was a pot.
It is. It's like the cauldron.
He's giving the cauldron legs?
Let me finish.
Or like spiritually grab shit.
Like spiritually grab shit.
Okay.
You're just thinking of like a cauldron.
We're gonna wire the bones together and we're gonna glue them to the side of the Nganga, so it's just gonna look like a pot with like skeleton arms.
Jesus. Okay. So at the grave, they left coins and a headless chicken as repayment for stealing the dude's bones.
Why didn't they leave the head? Why headless?
I don't know, man. Once they were back at the apartment, Omar covered Adolfo in a white sheet and lit 4 candles while himself, Martin, and Jorge all chanted.
I'm sorry. They put him under a white sheet like a ghost.
He's laying down.
I'm also laughing because I'm imagining they take the chicken head and they put it on the front of the Nganga like a thing on the front of a car.
You're awful.
Okay, continue. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everyone.
They
This is what you get when Mythos is involved in the story.
Yeah, so they were chanting, and then one of them, nobody remembers like which member it was, but somebody poured 7 piles of gunpowder onto a knife and held it over the flames of one of the candles, and everybody else waited for the spirit to show up.
Okay.
So soon enough, Adolfo's face would turn red and contort, and his entire body seemed to have changed as the spirit of the man whose bones they stole entered his body.
Oh.
As soon as these changes were noticed, Omar immediately asked, "Do you agree to work for El Padrino, to live in his nganga, to serve him as your master?"
Nah.
The Adolfo,
The
the
Adolfo.
the spirit responded through Adolfo, but in a voice no one had ever heard Adolfo speak in before.
Nah, bruh.
It said, "Yes, I
No.
will serve." And then
I
it
will
laughed.
serve.
Stop.
Can you serve?
Serve?
No.
No,
Serve the country.
Okay. And then it laughed in this really bizarre way that they didn't recognize as laughing right away,
I'm so
which is
uncomfortable.
terrifying.
Okay.
The gunpowder then ignited on the knife, and
Yeah, it took him long enough.
the Adolfo
The Adolfo.
and Adolfo awoke, go back to normal.
Will you serve for the Adolfo?
Stop. The ritual had gone well, and had it not gone well, no. There's like a couple ways it couldn't have gone well.
Oh, okay.
If the spirit had said no, they would have had to repeat the whole process. Had the gunpowder not ignited, though, it would have indicated a bad omen, calling for purifications and a restart to the whole process.
Okay.
Since the ritual was a success, Adolfo commanded his followers to bring the nganga into a room known as Adolfo's Cuarto de los Muertos. Once situated, Adolfo placed the skull and bones of the spirit
the room of the dead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Literally.
Hey, I kind of know Spanish.
He placed the skull and bones of the spirit who agreed to be used inside of the nganga, along with coins, a piece of paper with the spirit's name,
and the head of the chicken,
cemetery dirt, a roasted turtle, railroad spikes, a goat's head, deer antlers, pepper, spices, garlic, poisonous insects, coconut shells, a boiled black cat, and more, and they were all sprayed down with chicken blood. In addition to all these little things that he added.
Fun festive decorations for his
Nganga.
muerta core.
No. Never say that again.
Muerta core.
Stop it. So in addition to all these like fun little things, Adolfo added like 28 palos, which are sticks, each from a tree that Adolfo asked permission from and provided payment for in the form of herbs, coins, and chicken blood.
Didn't this get brought up earlier with the 28 sticks?
Mm-hmm, that's where Palo Mayombe gets its name from. Palo for the sticks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that makes
now
sense.
With the nganga completed, the nkisi, which is Bantu for spirit, was now able to be bargained with. But for a price, sacrifices had to be made, and bargains will have to be struck. Now, if you remember the differences between Peleros Christianos and Peleros Judios, you'll understand why.
Not Judas, the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll understand why from like an optics point of view, Adolfo would choose to claim to practice Peleros Christianos, while his journals and future actions later proved the opposite.
So he was pretending to be Christian, but he was actually Jewish?
No.
Oh, wait.
Do you remember what the major difference was between like the
So the Judas ones, they were the ones that were like not using holy water for baptisms.
Well, it's not even that they weren't using holy water for baptisms. They weren't doing baptisms at all.
Oh, I don't understand baptisms. I will never understand baptisms. Well, I just learned about christenings a week ago. You got to bear with me on that one.
Well, for Peleros Christianos, and a lot of other Afro-Cuban, like Afro-Caribbean cultures, baptisms are the like best way to get rid of like evil spirits, to like cleanse somebody, to get rid of like bad luck.
I mean, that makes sense.
So
I'm saying me personally, I don't understand the concept of like a baptism. Like I don't understand why. I don't know. Baptisms are weird for me, and I feel like everyone has different opinions on them. Like, don't some churches believe that you can baptize a baby? Other people think you can't baptize babies. Like, it's weird. It makes no sense.
Some churches, I think it's the Catholic Church. Catholic churches believe that you can't get into heaven until you've been baptized. So that's why a lot of people try to baptize their babies early.
Like, right away.
Yeah. And
That's
then
a christening, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then there are some churches, like the Baptist Church, who believe
Yeah,
that
you have to, like, consent to it.
you have to consent to it. You have to
Prove that you're godly enough to be baptized, which is
You have to,
stupid,
like,
because isn't the
confess.
point of being baptized, isn't the point of being baptized to, like, become more godly or something?
It's not necessarily. It's not like prove that you're godly. Essentially, it basically be like, oh, I admit that I have sinned and I'm probably going to sin, but this cleanses all of it.
Isn't that what confessional's for?
Baby,
What? That's Catholic.
that's Catholic.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I only know Catholic.
I know, baby. Anyway,
I'm trying.
so for like
You asked me the differences. Why was it important?
because like he would claim to practice Paleros Christianos, which is the lighter version of Palo Mayombe.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, he practiced Paleros Judios, which is the darker version,
So he was doing dark magic and pretending it was light magic.
essentially.
Okay, that's fucked up.
Like to base it down to like the absolute minimum, yeah, essentially.
Amazing.
So the very first bilingo magical spell that Adolfo conducted with his new Nganga was a protection spell.
That's a choice.
Yeah, so he said, "We are a family now." And then he turned to the Nganga and whispered, "Protect our family from harm, make us rich, bring us more followers."
That sounds like a toxic retail work environment. We're all family.
We're all family here.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So the spell seemed to have worked, and Adolfo would work his magic throughout La Zona Rosa at the same time while drawing in more and more powerful clients like models, photographers, and so on and so forth.
And like convincing them that what he's doing is like good for them, and then like they become followers.
Kind of. A lot of these people were become like surface level followers. None of them were
like devoted.
rayado. Huh?
Like they didn't become like devoted followers.
They were devoted, but they weren't like rayado, like cut. Because the difference between being like rayado versus just like a surface level follower is
like you're learning, right?
You're learning, but you're also really in it. If you're a surface level, you don't get to be in it. You're not part of the more deeper rituals. You're part of like some of the cleansing things. You're part of some of the lighter stuff, but you're not really in it. You don't see everything that's going on. You're just there to see like the outside of things. For a lot of these clients and like people who have come to follow him, he claimed to be a Santero priest. He's like, I'm practicing Santeria, not Palamayombe.
Okay.
But for some of the more superstitious followers, he kind of shifted. He would move from Santeria to Palomayombe. And this Palomayombe could draw and did draw in like richer people. He drew in like those rich housewives, like businessmen and celebrities. And it made them like a shit ton of money.
I imagine it would.
Yeah, and like one of these fancy new clients though was this Mexican pop singer named Oscar Athey, and he was like really well known. He was making appearances on like Mexican variety shows, but by 1986, his luck was running out. He was very visibly aging, and deals and contracts were just drying up extremely quickly.
Oof, yikesies.
So like one day he meets Omar in a bar. And Omar comes up to him for like an autograph, and they hit it off like immediately. Because Omar's
like frenzies.
I don't know, but Omar's kind of cute, so he's very like.
He's not the one that looks like Charlie Sheen, right?
No, he's not.
So we were researching at work, and my manager Barbara comes up, and I can say Barbara because it's a nickname. Barbara comes up, and I'm like, Barbara, doesn't this look like Charlie Sheen? And Barbara's like, no, that looks like Charlie Sheen's brother. And I'm like, who the fuck is that? And I look up a photo of this man. If you don't know, look up Charlie Sheen's brother. If you look up a photo of Charlie Sheen's brother, it looks exactly like Adolfo. And Psychos hates it, but we agreed that like it does. Like, Barbara's right. Barbara, if you're listening to this, Barbara, you're so right.
I don't like that. I don't feel like it's accurate. Anyway, moving on.
It is scarily accurate, actually.
So anyway, Omar and Oscar hit it off. So Omar offers to introduce Oscar to somebody who could turn his luck around.
Ooh.
So Oscar like agreed because
let me take a wild guess. It's Adolfo.
Yeah. So
Cool.
they agreed to meet at this burger joint known as Beeps, but it's VIPS, like VIPs.
Okay.
But according to the book, at this point in time, Mexican culture wasn't aware of the fact that VIP is an acronym. Like it stands for very important person. They just thought it was something that.
Oh.
So they named like a burger chain after this.
Honestly, good.
So wow, they just called it Beeps. Beeps, Beeps. It's cute. I love it. So they agreed to meet at this burger joint place because Adolfo loved fast food.
Is this like after the bar? Like they go from the bar directly to this burger place, or is this later on?
It's like day of, next day. It's very short time. They didn't
Okay.
really give like time frames for these
Okay.
earlier clients.
Okay.
These weren't where the illegal shit was happening, so it didn't really matter.
It's not illegal yet.
So while Adolfo only brought like the fanciest of like shit, he hated fancy food. He literally preferred fucking Whoppers.
Me.
Like he
Me
loved
though.
Burger King. Like
Oh my god.
God, legend has it that he would down like 4 hamburgers in a single sitting. Like
Dude, me at a Waffle House though.
he loved fast food. He adored it. Anyway,
Same. I disagree on the
so-
Whoppers, but fast food. Waffle
But this
House
is-
hash browns.
oh God,
Anyway,
me hungry. Anyway,
me want bite.
me want bite. So anyway, after like Omar introduces these two, they get down to business. Like Omar kind of just like fucks off somewhere else.
Business to
Shut up.
defeat the Huns.
Okay. So like Omar like kind of like fucks off to go do whatever, and Adolfo offers to completely turn Oscar's luck around and whatever Oscar wanted.
Mhm.
Oscar was kind of taken aback by this, but he decided to like talk about the price because nothing comes for free.
Yeah.
Now Adolfo told him that he could do it for 2,000 American dollars, which
Okay.
took Oscar so off guard because
It's not a lot of money.
back then it was.
To turn your whole life around as a pop star?
I don't know, but like obviously it was going to be pretty expensive with just what was being offered, but Oscar also just didn't have the money for it.
He's a broke pop star.
He's like, yeah, he was a pop star, but he's not getting contracts anymore. He's not getting deals anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, his money is like being sucked away trying to like maintain this lifestyle that he had. So right now he just does not have that money.
Mm-hmm. Make better music,
so,
homie.
So instead, Adolfo offered a trade. He would perform Olympia, the cleansing ritual, for free, and in exchange, all Oscar had to do was introduce Adolfo to his friends in the higher places.
Okay.
Oscar was again taken off guard, so he asked if that was really all. Adolfo smiles coldly and says, "That's it. That's all."
I don't fucking trust that shit.
So Oscar decided to take the deal. Once he was at Adolfo's apartment, he was then transported to another location about 20 miles away with zero explanation.
That's it. He's fucked. He's fucked. Secondary locations, man, they'll get you. He's fucked. He's about to die. That man's about to die. Man's 100% about to die.
I called that shit because
they took you. You went somewhere. You met up somewhere, and then they took you somewhere else with no explanation. Yeah, you're fucked. That man's never gonna be seen again. Well, I guess we know because we see the other point of view of him talking about how he's very alarmed by that. But I'm 90% certain this man's about to die. If you go to a secondary location, you're never gonna be seen again.
Guess what my next bullet point was?
It was at the secondary location thing.
Yeah, it was literally cue secondary location joke from Mythos.
He's fucked. I don't know what to tell you. That's a fact. I don't do secondary locations.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. If you go to a secondary location, you're kind of fizzucked.
Yeah, he's fizzucked. I don't know what happens, but he's fizzucked. Does he die?
He does not.
Oh, damn. Fizzucked, though.
Yeah. Once he was at this place, he noticed like a number of things like weird about it. Like
a chicken head. 28 sticks.
Jesus Christ.
A cauldron with a skeleton attached to it, so it looks like it's got a big round metal body and these little skinny arms.
Are you done?
Is the secondary location Adolfo's house?
It's like a second because he like had like multiple different properties.
Is it the room is it the room of death? Is it the room of the dead?
No, it's not the room of the dead.
Damn. It's gonna do a bouncy house.
So anyway, once he was at this place, he started
The
noticing
secondary location.
Can I talk?
I love you.
I love you too. So once he was at this secondary location, happy,
Barry, thank you.
he noted a number of weird things, including televisions, cassette players, cameras, and other shit like that just stacked up in multiple rooms. They were still in the boxes. They were just stacked up in everywhere.
Okay.
He didn't even ask about them before Adolfo was like, "Oh yeah, we sell those too. Tell your friends." Before being put in a dark room by himself with candles providing very little light and the stench of rotting meat for 15 minutes before anybody else came into the room with him.
Welp.
But once the others joined him, it quickly became really weird.
Oscar now it's weird.
It got weirder.
Yeah, shit, it got weirder.
So Oscar was held down in the chair that he was sitting in while Adolfo started chanting in this different language before commanding Oscar to stop struggling because anybody would be struggling during this. And they conducted the ritual, and just like that, Oscar was cleansed.
Wow.
Now, after everything had gone down, after the cult had kind of sort of wrapped up, Oscar, like many of Adolfo's past and future clients, would claim no knowledge of the crimes that Adolfo would commit. But he would claim that Adolfo, quote, knew things, and that's what drew people to Adolfo. He knew certain things that would happen, and Oscar's career certainly picked up after the cleansing with Adolfo, or at least he kind of claims that it was. Now, continuing on like this, Adolfo grew his client base and his own personal wealth. At one point, he even developed a menu of sorts for the types of sacrifices he could conduct for $6 for a chicken to $3,100 for a baby lion. Don't ask me how he got the fucking lions. I don't know. I just assume the man had connections.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Ew. Yeah.
He got hold of baby lions, and I'm like, how the I don't know. I couldn't find it. He just had lions.
Okay.
Now, moving on though, around this time, Adolfo would also meet somebody who would be extremely vital to the cult's survival and ability to draw on more people at this time. This man was Florentino Ventura Gutierrez. Now, this dude has a bit of a history.
Oh, God.
So buckle up, bitches. Let's go.
Oh, God.
So Ventura was the premier comandante of the Mexican Federal Judicial Police, which for a direct American translation was essentially the equivalent of being the FBI director.
Oh, so he's up there.
Yeah.
And
in 1985 he became the director of the Mexican branch of Interpol. Now, Interpol is the international investigation unit, and nearly every country has a branch.
Okay.
He was also greatly respected by the US because for two reasons. Now, first was for his ability to crack down on drug smugglers, and second, for his ties to the CIA, because he had CIA ties. And he kept KGB agents from fully implementing communism within Mexico City during the Cold War.
God damn it, the KGB is back again.
However, when he was partially responsible for the arrest of the man who killed a very important DEA agent, some other agents believed that Ventura actually played a role in either the murder itself or a cover-up that would protect the more important players in this murder case.
Drama!
So, despite all of this, Ventura was extremely important and very well respected. But very few of his colleagues knew that Ventura was also extremely superstitious and often sought out Adolfo for protection and cleansing rituals. Over the years, he would spend thousands of dollars as well as vital information in payment for these services. And these two kind of had a very close relationship. Once again, we have somebody posing as somebody else's nephew. It's fine. Adolfo would often refer to himself as Ventura's nephew. Now, this information was very well received when Adolfo began drawing more and more people into the cult, using both his skills of deduction and this hidden information to claim that he knew things that he shouldn't. Allegedly, there were things he just knew, but in my opinion, it was just Occam's razor. He had connections to a higher-up government official. You can do the math on that. Aside from the fucking earthquake thing, that shit was weird.
Yeah.
How the I will never understand what happened with the fucking earthquake shit.
That's your Roman Empire.
God, you're not wrong. So, their relationship actually lasted up until 1988 when Ventura died after killing his second wife and her friend, and then he shot himself. Allegedly, there was no connection to Adolfo or his group during this.
Allegedly.
Also, his first wife hung herself. She hanged herself.
Hung herself? She was
Uh,
hanged?
like,
By herself.
yeah.
Yeah, she hung herself.
So I might do a case on this dude later on because he's very interesting to say the least. Just in general, I kind of go more into detail about like what kind of happened that day in episode 4. Not episode 4, episode 3, because his death was like one of 4 in a very short span of time.
Oof.
Like it was him, then like a month later somebody else, and then literally the next month 2 more people. Like it was boom, 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 boom. But his was kind of like the only one that didn't really have any like direct ties to the group. So I do a case on him later. He was very interesting. Anyway, so his information was very important to Adolfo, but what made him even more critical was the introduction of Salvador Vidal Garcia Alarcon. This dude was interesting, to say the least. He was Ventura's subordinate, and from what I could find, had been a butcher prior to joining the Federales. So, yeah, I don't know what you want to pick up from that, but I picked up some really weird vibes from that. It's fine.
Yeah.
And the most important thing to know about this man is that he had a scar down his face that made it look like he had 3 separate faces.
Ugh.
Witnesses used to say that it looked like from the one side it looked like one person, from head on it looked like somebody else, and from the other side it looked like a completely different person
Yikes.
because of how the scar worked. I was like, okay, that's weird.
That's a really weird. I would love to see a photo of that.
I'm gonna see if I can try to find one. So if you haven't noticed, like I did, like I know right now, like I noticed, Mexico at this time was extremely superstitious.
Yeah.
Now I'm not sure if that's carried on to like present day or not,
I mean,
because I'm not.
probably. I feel like
Yeah,
everywhere's a little superstitious.
yeah, everybody's a bit superstitious every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
At this time in the 80s, it was rough in terms of superstition. So, in addition to Vidal's quote unquote 3 faces, he believed that he was possessed by 3 spirits: an African witch, a Cuban murderer, and a Sioux native, which is a
And Big
wild
Bird.
trio. It's what?
Like how you just ignored what I said.
What'd you say? I didn't even
And Big
hear
Bird.
it. Oh my
And Big
god.
Bird.
Just, you think Big Bird's being possessed by a Cuban murderer?
What is that joke? A priest, something and something walk into a bar.
Oh god.
It's that, but he's the walking joke.
Stop it. So,
So Big Bird.
no, he's not Big Bird. So he did share this information with a friend that he met back in 1985, a man named Jorge Montes. So Jorge Montes immediately snitched to Adolfo because he probably saw like dollar signs, because it pays to have 2 federales in your fucking pocket. Anyway, so because like you
Wait,
have
what did he
like
snitch about?
just what this dude was dealing with. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I know this.
I know this guy
feder-
who's possessed by 3 different people and Big Bird.
He's not possessed by Big Bird. Stop it. Stop pushing the Big Bird narrative." God. Anyway, so Adolfo kind of saw this like thing had the like this potential relationship with Salvador Vidal had the likelihood to boost him from like the fairly legal side of things
To the
that like
illegal side of things.
to like that dealt with like the rich and famous people, to the drug trade.
He's taking a
Which is-
ride on the wild side.
No. Drug trade had money. Not like the money he's been making isn't already a crazy
Stupid
amount.
amounts of money. Drug trade
drug
is
money?
stupid amounts of money.
Dude, I know. It's an entirely different beast. That makes the money that they've made up to this point look like pennies. Now,
It was crazy.
Adolfo didn't know whether or not he could corrupt Salvador Vidal, but if the Comandante, the FBI dude, could be corrupted, and with how corrupt the Federales and the police force in general are, it shouldn't be that hard. Especially if he could calm the spirits that possessed Salvador Vidal.
Oh, we're actually believing that he's possessed by 3 different spirits and Big Bird.
Yeah, it was not Big Bird. Where did you get Big? I'm tired of this. This man is not possessed by Big Bird.
His eyes are something with the ghost of his past, or what that quote is.
Oh my god.
We don't support J.K. Rowling.
No, we don't. She literally hates the both of us.
Good, I hate her too. You know?
So the way that they described it kind of sounds like DID, where like Salvador Vidal would become like possessed in a way of like in like one spirit or another would take over.
Okay.
And like he would kind of be banished to like the back of the mind, watching his body do things that he didn't want.
Okay.
Am I going to diagnose this man with DID? No,
I'm gonna
not.
diagnose
That's
him
stupid.
with little bitch syndrome.
Oh my god.
Anyway, continue.
So at this point in my opinion, right now, Adolfo kind of fully buys his own bullshit. You know? Like
Oh, yeah. Wait, really?
I think at this point
He's starting to
yes.
believe that what he's doing is actually like real.
No. I think he believes it and had been believing it for a while. And
Oof.
we'll reach a certain point where I kind of feel like after a certain point he just doesn't anymore. Like or like he will and it comes and goes. But he is such a like a complicated little man that it's so difficult to kind of pin down where what Adolfo is truly thinking at any given point in time.
I like how you called him a little man. He's just a little dude.
He's just a little dude.
He's just a little dude.
He's probably as tall as me. Fuck. Anyway, oh, he's dead now. It doesn't matter. Spoiler alert for the last episode. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I imagine he's not alive anymore. What cult leaders are alive anymore?
Oh, that's a great question.
Let's be real here.
Oh god, I think Charles Manson recently died in prison. Like
Charles
a couple years
Manson was
ago.
alive until recently?
Yeah, like it was like a few years ago. I think it was like 2019, 2020 is when he died.
I don't know anything about Charles Manson.
Well, great, because I'm doing a series on them at some point. The Manson family?
Fuck me.
Fucking wild. Anyway, moving on.
Crazy.
So, in my opinion, Adolfo like fully does believe in his own bullshit. He just needs more assistance with the stuff that he's having a harder time with, like the information and shit. So he tells Jorge to bring Salvador Vidal to him for a private session, and he cast the cowrie shells and told him nearly exactly what Jorge had told Adolfo earlier. However, Salvador didn't even think to consider that Adolfo could have gotten this information from anywhere else. And he like grabs Adolfo's hand and says it's a miracle. And as Hume's put it in his book, a man eager for a cure is a man eager to believe. Now, if you remember from last episode, Adolfo, do not touch him without permission. Absolutely not.
Oh no.
Now, this doesn't necessarily cause a problem because he recognizes that this man's kind of desperate. But like,
he's like, I'll let us slide this time, but next time you're getting bitch slapped.
You know, this man was like itching to like bitch slap him for it.
I'm gonna hurt you.
I'm gonna hurt you. Anyway, so not long after this meeting, Salvador Vidal was initiated and the spirits were quote unquote banished to the deep dark recesses of his mind. Now, Adolfo marked Salvador Vidal with 7 lightning bolts, the symbol of Siete Rayos. Siete Rayos was an orisha and it was the symbol of swift and violent death. Which is more than a little suspicious given what's going to come later on. Now, in exchange for this time of mental peace, Salvador Vidal introduced Adolfo to a number of drug dealers. Now, most of these drug dealers, and I truly did not know this until I started writing these notes, but at the time, drug dealers would hire off-duty police officers as guards for their stash.
That is the most corrupt thing I've ever heard in my life.
I know.
That is comedically corrupt.
I know, it's a little stupid, in my opinion. I'm like, guys, come on. But they were also, yeah. But like these drug dealers were also super superstitious as well. Like they often sought out witches to conduct rituals to protect the drugs to ensure that the deals went well and the best time, like to figure out when the best time was to ship said drugs. But things would get more dangerous from here on out. Higher risk, higher reward. And if things went wrong on the smaller scale they had been operating at, it was a lot easier to blame the thing that was going wrong onto the client. They didn't conduct their ritual right. They Like, they came in with really bad intentions. They didn't actually want it. But when you're dealing with dealers and cartels, you cannot turn it back around on them without having, like, severe consequences.
Mhm.
But to Adolfo, the rewards far outweighed the risks. Like, it was a no-brainer. He didn't want to stay in La Zona Rosa his entire, like, life anymore, and he was destined for something more in his, like, mind.
Mhm.
So, slowly, Adolfo worked his way up the chain from small-time drug runners to a not insignificant cartel, the Calzada family, which would change everything about the cult. Now, the Calzada family wasn't that big in the drug industry, but they weren't small either. They were fairly mid-range. Now, the business, like this Calzada family had their own little family business in Colonia Juarez, just a few blocks away from one of Adolfo's apartments. It's like a little fire extinguisher company.
Mhm.
Sales were kind of minimal at best, but guess what? It doesn't matter. You know why?
Why?
Because it was a front for their cocaine storage center.
What was it again?
It was a fire extinguisher company, but it was a front for their cocaine storage center. You will never trust a fire extinguisher ever again. Gonna
Can
look
you
at it.
imagine? Can
You
you
go to like
imagine?
put out a fire and
And it's
spraying
cocaine!
straight cocaine.
I'm glad we had the same thought.
Yeah. So Mexico,
Talk
according
about
to
money laundering. Damn.
yeah,
It's a,
fire
it's
extinguishing.
an interesting way of money laundering. All right,
It
cool,
really
whatever.
was. So Mexico, according to DEA lingo, is called the trampoline.
Okay. Why?
Now, because
Because
nearly all the
bitches bounce back fast.
Jesus Christ. No, because nearly all the drugs that come from Colombia stop in Mexico and then are shipped to multiple different locations in the US.
That is the dumbest fucking term to use for that specific situation.
No,
The
like
trampoline?
yeah, because like because think about it, you throw something down on a trampoline. Once it bounces, it goes in several different directions.
I've never jumped on a trampoline and been dismembered by the bounce back.
Maybe you weren't bouncing hard enough.
I didn't have any friends to double bounce me on a trampoline, so
Fair enough.
I have you. We don't have a trampoline though.
We could go to a trampoline park.
You're just trying to get me to take you to the one by work.
Yeah, I am. Is it working?
You're disabled. You can't walk.
I can dream. So, most cartel families in Mexico actually don't own the drugs they're selling. They just provide the much needed service of transporting the drugs across the border.
It's like a reverse MLM.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, at the time, this was still very new because initially the drugs were sent directly from Colombia to Florida.
When was cocaine invented?
Great question, no idea.
I'm looking it up.
But the DEA had kind of caught on to the fact that, like, oh, you're sending your drugs to Florida? Okay. And had increased, like, seizures throughout Florida, allowing for Mexican cartels to form and grow more increasingly, like, powerful and wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're dealing with these people who are like, ooh, it's our turn. Now, it's important to note that while the Calzadas were like one of these families, they weren't like superstars in the drug world, like Pablo
Cocaine
Escobar.
comes from the same plant as chocolate.
Oh shit!
It's the coca plant,
Nice,
right? That's what chocolate's from, right?
Yeah.
Coca.
They weren't like superstars in the world, like of drugs, like Pablo Escobar or Griselda Blanco, which I will be doing a case on Griselda Blanco because she is a cutthroat bitch and I respect her greatly. So the Casadas were fairly small, but more than big enough for what Adolfo needed. They met Adolfo through Salvador Vidal in September of 1986. Guillermo Calzada was
Guillermo. Sorry.
He was the patriarch of the family, and despite being considered relatively low-ranking in the drug world, he was ruthless. He trusted no bitch and survived 2 assassination attempts as a result.
I'm still picturing Guillermo.
Not Guillermo.
Guillermo.
However, he was a superstitious man deep down, and through this avenue, Adolfo was able to worm his way into Guillermo's good graces. As he had with Omar, Martin, and many others, Adolfo learned which mask to wear around Guillermo. So instead of being like stern and mean with him, Adolfo was like reverential. He played into this man's ego and promised nothing short of more power, more money, and the destruction of Guillermo's enemies.
Okay.
Now, for a while, this relationship was like mutually beneficial. Adolfo helped Guillermo make the right moves and kept the products safe. However, Adolfo wanted more. He wanted more money, more power.
Bro, do you not have enough money?
So he asked for half the profits.
Half is a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Don't trust no bitch.
Yeah, no. Guillermo refused because he felt satisfied with how things were. Adolfo kind of like was caught off guard because he's not used to saying no. And then he tried to explain like why this was the best course of action, like talking to Guillermo like he was a kid. And when Guillermo said no again, Adolfo lost it.
Trauma.
He started screaming that Guillermo had to agree with him and that he had to do this. Guillermo fired him on the spot. And like as this final insult to injury, Guillermo's like personal bodyguard laughed at Adolfo. And to him, all it did was humiliate him. He felt like the kid who grew up in Miami being bullied. He could go to no one about these feelings because his lies about his past were like nobody knew he was like this weird kid who got bullied.
Yeah.
So, and then this light bulb clicked on. Well, not necessarily a light bulb per se, but rather a memory of his mother kept replying over and over. The non-believers are animals, worthless animals. And his own Padrino's lessons about power, especially how there was power in human blood.
No.
So, over the course of the past few years, Adolfo's followers kind of noticed that there was a change. He was becoming more cruel, more materialistic. When something went wrong, Adolfo would blame the client. And when the client refused to pay or didn't need his services anymore, he would scream and curse those people so full of rage. It would scare a lot of followers, but no one would leave. As Martin would later tell other followers, quote, "If you obey and pay, he never hurts you. But once you give up your soul, you can't expect to get out, not easily. You better obey," end quote. So, once this humiliation had occurred, by the time Adolfo had gotten into the car with Martin, he had a plan that seemed far too simple to have taken Adolfo so long to realize. Guillermo may have been scary, but in all honesty, Adolfo knew that he was a small fish in a very, very large ocean. There would be others that would pay, others that would worship the ground that he walked on. So he turned to Martin and asked a very simple question. Quote, "It's time for a new ritual. Will you follow me?" Martin later described to another member that he knew something was wrong. Something terrible was going to happen. But still, quote, "Yes, Padrino, I will follow you."
So I'm so sorry.
You're good. I'm almost done. So a few days after their explosive falling out, Adolfo called Guillermo. He apologized profusely, explaining that he had been wrong and had
he is. I'm sorry.
And he had been under the spell of an enemy Palero during the argument.
Oh, get fucking wrecked, dude.
He told Guillermo that he believed the spell had caused him to act that way. Like, he believed that spell that caused him to act like that may have actually been intended for the Calzada family. So in a show of faith and, quote, true goodwill, he offered to perform a special ritual to deeply cleanse and protect the family. Guillermo agreed, seemingly happy to have Adolfo back.
No!
They agreed to meet the next day to conduct the ritual.
Guillermo,
However,
no!
Everyone had to be present. The family and everyone associated with the family, including the personal bodyguard and the secretary. So, on Thursday, April 30th, 1987, Adolfo arrived at the fire extinguisher business with a crate of eggs, 2 live chickens, and statues of different saints.
Why eggs?
Okay, so part of the Olympias that he would perform involved like running the egg all over your body.
Oh, like a cleansing thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I actually understand that.
You're like, oh wait, I get that.
Oh, wait, I understand that. Okay.
So the bodyguard that had previously laughed at him was extremely suspicious of Adolfo,
Then why don't you do your fucking job, my guy?
and he investigated everything to ensure that there was nothing dangerous. He found nothing. Once
No
preparations were complete,
guns?
no guns. You're so stressed, I can hear it. Once preparations were complete, Adolfo had the group of 7 encircle him, joining hands.
Uh,
The 7 there were Guillermo, his mother, his wife, his
uh-huh,
maid, his business partner,
uh-huh,
his bodyguard, and his
uh-huh.
secretary.
Okay, he doesn't have kids then. That's good.
No. The lights were then dimmed and the candles were lit as the ritual began.
Ah,
Adolfo had conducted rituals for the Calzadas prior, and they were all very impressed every single time he had done so.
this is going to be the most impressive.
Dressed in all white, Adolfo began to chant, calling on the power of Siete Rayos to strike down his enemies, pointing at each of the 7 as he did so.
Did they see this?
Yeah. Like, Humes did this weird thing where he tried to like go into the minds of the victims, and he was like, they must have been super fucking confused whenever he started pointing at them.
I
But here's
would
the
be.
thing.
Huh?
Side note,
Uh-huh.
when I was writing this, I fully
Uh-huh.
said, oh shit, when I realized that there were 7 of them, and he was calling on Siete Reyes fully in front of our bosses. Because Siete Reyes,
7 something?
and there's
What
7 of
7?
them.
It was like seven gods?
7 bolts. Like 7
7
bolts of
bolts.
lightning.
Oh.
And he's the one that's like associated with like quick and deadly like vengeance and shit.
Oh, okay.
And there's 7 people there outside of
Oh,
Adolfo.
that's a coincidence. Or he planned it. I don't.
I
But
don't.
that's
No,
interesting.
it wasn't. It wasn't planned for there to be 7. It was planned for there to be more.
Oh shit.
He then brandished his knife, and then, as if on cue, Martin and another follower burst in carrying machine guns pointed at the family. Now, what followed, no one will ever really know 100%,
A fucking massacre.
considering what everyone involved would either be dead or just refuse to spill. So I'll be switching to the point of view to the police for the investigation for a quick second. Now, on May 1st, 1987,
Uh-huh.
the secretary's husband had called the police to report her missing.
Wait, so like the next day?
Next day.
Okay. Because that happened on the 30th.
She had gone to a religious ceremony the night before and told her husband not to wait up for her, but by the time he woke up the next morning, she still wasn't home.
The maid or the secretary?
Secretary, because the
Okay.
maid was underage.
Oh!
Okay.
Okay, so the secretary's husband called her in missing.
Yeah. And
Okay.
he was supposed to go with her to the ceremony, but work had forced him to cancel.
What a fucking twist of luck.
I know. He felt awful about not being there, convinced that he should have been there to protect his wife. He knew nothing of the ritual or who was involved, but he knew that something was wrong. So the police agreed to check out the last known location, the fire extinguisher business. Once they arrived, they noticed that this microbus that belonged to the business had been completely gutted and set on fire some time before, because all that remained was a pile of metal and melted tires.
Yeah, that's not fucking suspicious at all.
The police then figured out that the front door to the business was completely unlocked. They entered slowly.
Okay.
They entered slowly and carefully, calling out to anyone who might be there.
Ooh.
Inside, they found the remnants of several eggs and the broken statues of saints.
That's fucking creepy.
One also noticed blood, and the officers immediately crossed themselves, like the Catholic way, before continuing their look around. Many noticed that the walls were covered in bullet holes. Despite the fact that there was blood present on the scene, the bodies were gone. The business and the adjoining home were completely vacant.
Bro, they up and vanished in a day? Not even.
Not even.
Bro, they had to have planned to they had to have already taken everything out the night before. There's no way.
So the initial investigation pointed the police to a ritual killing, but this was later replaced with another theory as the investigation continued. They uncovered loads and loads of drug paraphernalia, and areas of the business tested positive for cocaine residue. Because of these discoveries, the police completely switched to the theory that this was a drug kidnapping or murder case. The religious ceremony aspect of it had been completely forgotten.
Oh, but why can't it be both?
I don't know. I do not know. You have to ask the police that.
It kind of was.
Yeah. There was $100,000 to $200,000 in cash and drugs missing, and to the police, that was a pretty big motive. So, an investigation of the neighborhood.
Oh, so they think someone came in, killed the people that were keeping the drugs, and then took the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but it was actually the people that owned the drugs just ritualistically killing people and then taking their inventory and bailing.
Oh, the people who owned the drugs were ritualistically murdered, and then the people who were ritualistically murdered them stole the drugs and the money and bailed.
Oh, the Adolfo didn't own the fire
Mm-mm.
extinguisher business?
No,
The
that was
family did?
the family did.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got mixed up. Sorry.
No, you're good. So, an investigation of the neighborhood revealed that the Calzada family was missing as well, and that no one had any ideas about what happened or who was responsible.
Dun dun dun.
So, over the next 2 days, 2 more missing persons reports were filed. One for the maid, the other for Guillermo's bodyguard. They were told
Okay.
that these two had also attended the same ritual only to vanish into thin air.
They didn't vanish into thin air.
The police at this time believed that this was a drug killing, maybe even carried out by an elite Colombian hit squad.
Boy,
On
do I have
May-
news for you.
Yeah, I hope you're not eating right now.
Nope. I have stopped eating like an hour ago.
On May 7th, 2 bodies washed up on the banks of the Rio Zampango River.
Okay.
They were naked, decaying, bound, and extremely mutilated.
Okay.
There was one male and one female, but both had been tied to rocks as an attempt to keep them underwater as possible.
As long as
Like
possible.
for as long as possible, yeah.
Yeah.
The male was identified as the bodyguard. His fingers had been cut off, and a $20 bill, like an American $20 bill, had been
Yeah.
rolled up and stuck into one of the stumps.
Ew.
His toes, and ears were also missing.
Ew.
He had been shot, beaten, stabbed, and castrated.
Oh.
The woman was identified as the secretary. Her heart had been removed, and her throat had been cut so deeply it nearly decapitated her.
Ew.
Over the next week, 5 more bodies washed up on the shore, only one of which would be positively identified as the Calzada family maid. The other 4 cannot be identified due to the damage done to their bodies, but it is suspected that they are the remains of the Calzada family and their business partner.
I mean, given everything we know, that makes a lot of fucking sense, yeah.
All of them were tortured, fingers, hearts, and sexual organs were removed, their throats were slashed, and their chests were brutally cut open. One body had their vertebrae and spinal column removed, while
Ooh,
2 of them
okay.
had their brains removed.
Ew. Okay, that's fine.
Oh, it's gonna get worse next episode.
Spines I can't do.
Oh, you're gonna hate
You know
next
that.
episode.
Spines are the one thing I can't do.
You're gonna hate next episode, I'm sorry.
Great, thanks. Can we just skip the spine part? Just say there's spine stuff, and then we'll skip it.
It's kind of important.
Fuck me.
Okay, so the
Does he have a spine belt?
No, he has a vertebrae necklace.
Oh, okay. That's actually a little bit more pleasant.
Not when you realize how they get this vertebrae. Anyway, I'll talk about that next episode. So
Thank you.
the identified bodies were laid to rest, and their names remained on the missing presumed dead list.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this case would soon be forgotten, but it wouldn't be forgotten for a long time. It would be forgotten for a few years.
Okay.
But the day after the murders, Adolfo was still riding that high. He hadn't anticipated that level of power that he felt. It was so unbelievably easy for him, and he knew that with time, it would become easy for the others. And, legitimately, he was so high on, the power and, because killing people, unfortunately, would get him sexually riled up. And he was abused, and it was kind of mixed in with his abuse.
Yeah, fair point.
So it's all he kind of really knew. So he was so riled up by it that he actually ended up, unfortunately, assaulting Martin whenever they got home.
Oh no.
Martin refused to discuss what happened that night, but Adolfo told everybody in their group, but he phrased it in such a way that would strip the the Calzada family's humanity away and make it easier for them to digest the fact that their leader had just committed mass murder. He claimed that the human sacrifice wasn't murder. It was a way to free the spirits that now served them. Quote, "Do it, kill, and then your souls will be truly dead like mine," he claimed. "You will have no fear, no weakness left in you, just power."
Uh-huh.
Now, not at this point, not everybody believed that he actually committed murder,
Mhm.
but they just kind of kept quiet. And as Edward Humes said so eloquently in his book, quote, all of his power and desire for his blessings kept them loyal, and the fear of his blade kept them quiet. And that is where I'm
Jeez.
leaving you off
Oh,
for
get
episode 2.
fucking wrecked.
Oh, episode 3. There's a lot of information, episode 3.
Oh, yay.
There's going to be a lot to get through, and episode 3 goes from their
0 to
next
100.
yeah, no. It goes from, like, him recruiting more people after this, because after this, he kind of goes on this recruiting spree, and then
Mhm.
it dives into the murders he committed after this, all the
Mhm.
way through to his second to last murder. And the
Wow.
second to last murder is the one that's so famous that a lot of people think it's the one that got him caught. Because the victim.
Thanks for that.
So next episode, there is going to be a lot of information. It is going to be fairly long, and I'm sorry about that.
I don't
But
forgive you.
how are you feeling?
I hate this. Thank you.
Yeah.
That
I've been
was
having dreams about this. This is not fun.
Oh,
It's not
good.
great.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
can't
great.
imagine. So that was terrible. Thank you. Okay, so today, right now, we are talking about 3 of the Romanov daughters. Now, here's the thing. So I was going to try and do Olga and Tatiana together and leave Marie for the episode with Anastasia and then do Alexei separate. I didn't like that. So we're doing all 3 sisters because I really couldn't find much about Marie slash Maria. It's written both in some places, but it's Maria after the grandmother. So these are the 3 oldest daughters, Olga, Tatiana, and Maria. Next episode is going to be Anastasia and Alexei, and I'm going to be talking about the Anastasia imposter, Anna Anderson, in that episode. And then I guess I'm going to have to talk about Rasputin. And then the last episode is going to be the execution of the family. So today we're just going over the 3 bigger daughters, the big pair. So we'll just jump into it. Okay. Just a heads up on this. This is going to be not boring, but it's not going to be like crazy. There is drama in this though. I turned to Psychos today and I was like, I can't fucking handle Olga anymore. Just a heads up, I also started crying while researching this at work. My coworker, because my boss was really like, "Hey, you're not doing anything right now. You should go do your research for your podcast." And I was like, "Okay." And I started crying. I had to take a break. I had to come out and be like, "I needed a second," because I started sobbing. So the 4 sisters, I'm going to talk about them first collectively ish, and then I'm going to get into their individual kind of personalities after that, because I think it's going to be the best way to handle this. Now, just a heads up going into this, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia, they were broken up into the big pair and the little pair. So Olga and Tatiana were the big pair, and Maria and Anastasia were the little pair. However, this does not play out in the family the same way all of the time. And we'll get into it with Maria. So for this sake, I'm going to be talking about Olga, Tatiana, and Maria together. I am going to end up touching a little bit on Anastasia because Anastasia and Maria were typically joined in together. But I'm going to talk about Anastasia separate because she's so fucking different from the other girls. And also she had that big scandal with people thinking that she survived. So we're going to get it. And then Alexei's just, I love Alexei so much. He's a little bitch sometimes. So we're going to get into him later.
Are you gonna get into why, like, Anastasia, for some reason, everybody wanted to, like...
I'll get into that next episode, but I think it was just that she was so young and people didn't really want any of the daughters, I think, to die. They were very attached to the girls. And then obviously people wanted to be imposters of Alexei because, he's the heir to the Russian throne. Which I have fucking opinions about that, by the way. I have the amount of books that I've researched. Most of the information I'm using in this is going to come from the Romanov sisters book because that book really in depth covers the girls. But the next 2 episodes, I'm going to be heavily referencing 2 other books that I've purchased since last episode. So we'll get into that later. But just to give you an idea of kind of the age gap between the girls. So Olga was 22 when she died. And then her next youngest sibling was Tatiana, who was 21 when she died. So they were a year apart. And then Maria is 19. there's a 2-year gap between the Tatiana and Maria, and then Anastasia, when she died, was 17. So there was a 2-year gap between them as well. The gap between Anastasia and Alexei, he was 13 when he died. So pretty significant age gap there. So the sisters as a whole, they were extremely close. The main reason for this, we got into it last episode with Alexandra, but they were not allowed to like be around anyone or see anyone. I think it was Olga who actually mentioned that like these girls did not have playmates. They were able to play with like the kids of people who were nearby when they were going to like outings and stuff, but they didn't have playmates consistently. So they were pretty much like it was just them. So actually when they were a little bit older, they would call themselves the acronym ATMA, which is Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia, ATMA.
Mhm.
And that was like they would call themselves like collectively as a whole by that name.
Oh, that's so cute.
It was very sweet. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information of them as kids, or it just wasn't, there wasn't a lot, unfortunately, and this is really, really, really sad, but their lives really started to pick up and they started to become people to the public right when World War One started, unfortunately. Which means they only really had like 4 years of being people, really. Up until then, they were just kind of kept away. So you'll have to forgive the fact that this is going to be very World War One heavy. So at different points,
Cool, the boring one.
I know, I'm sorry.
That was a joke, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So at different points in their lives, the sisters were described pretty consistently. They were described as very little girls. They were bright, intelligent, but unfortunately, people also said that no one in Russia wants them unless it was their parents, because everyone wanted a boy. This is
Rude.
before Alexei was born. Another person said, however beloved by their parents, the 4 little girls were just 4 prefaces to the exciting book, which will not begun until their brother was born. So that's kind of how the girls are seen by the people. So that's just the preface of kind of what they're living with. This is all
So
before Alexei was,
sad.
I know, this is before Alexei was born. So before Nicholas, one of the other people in line had declared that no woman could take the throne unless all of the male heir lines were like completely dried out. So Nicholas was actually considering making a decree for Olga to become like would take over in his place. That's really the only thing that like got really going. But people, oh my god, they were pissy about it. Once Alexei was born, the girls really took a backseat to him though. Literally, once he was born, Alexandra, like, she was such a boy mom. And I really hate to say that, but she was. So,
I'm like the bad, like, TikTok boy mom.
yeah, people would say that the girls were doomed to live in their brother's shadow. They were doomed to basically like mediocrity because their brother was now born. So, Olga, she was the first daughter to be born. Olga was the first pregnancy that Alex had. And she was scared, terrified when she got pregnant because she thought that people were going to think that she was sick. Because remember, she has like sciatica and all that shit. It just gets worse from there. So they didn't announce anything, literally to anyone, until she was like confirmed pregnant, because she didn't want everyone to think that she was still like horribly sick, because this was coming off the heels of they just got married and the public is like, is the engagement going to get called off because she's fucking sick and at these Sulphur Springs? However, the pregnancy was super, super hard on Alex's body. She was exhausted literally all the time. Olga was a very active baby. She would jump around a lot. She was Alex was super excited also when she stopped her period. She wrote her brother about it, which is kind of weird, but it's fine.
Imagine, like, telling your brother, like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think his wife had just had a kid, because she also wrote to him saying, "What a joy it must be to have a sweet little wee child of one's own. I am longing for the moment when God will give us ours. It will be such a happiness for my darling Nicky too. He has so many sorrows and worries that the appearance of a tiny baby of his very own will cheer him up. So young and in such a responsible position, and so many things to fight against." So,
Oh.
yeah. By the way, like, Coronation Day, like, has not happened yet. Like, that tragedy where people get stampeded, that's a year out, by the way. So
Oh
they literally
god.
just got married. So the doctors were thinking that Alex was gonna give birth sometime in October. So her sister Ella arrives in October and is like, "Where's the fucking baby?" And they're like, "She hasn't been born yet." By the way, all these babies are thick as fuck. These are some big ass babies. All these babies are huge. I
Oh,
think they're
poor
all about 10
Alex.
pounds.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Ow, no.
I know.
Absolutely not.
So when Ella saw Alex, she wrote that she was full of fun, quite like as a child, and that dreadfully sad look which Papa's death had printed on her disappears in her constant smiles. She was very happy to be pregnant and be a mom, which makes sense given how Alex was raised, how Alice raised her. I think she's pretty much meant to be a mom. However, they're still under the impression they're having a boy because you can't like gender test these. So I don't remember where I got this information from, but Alex and Nicholas were so convinced that they were having a boy that they were going to name him Paul.
Gross.
I know.
I'm sorry.
It's a terrible name, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, baby's supposed to be born in October, right? End of October, baby's not here. November 3rd of 1895, around 1 a.m., Alex went into labor and it lasted for 20 hours.
Oh, no. No, thank you.
That gets very different because I think Alex was literally in labor for 30 minutes when she delivered Alexi. Anyway.
God, it was like God.
Amazon Prime
was like,
the baby.
Everybody was punishing this woman for having girls, including her own body.
No, literally. Apparently, during the birth, Nicholas was in and out of crying, and his mom Maria was just like constantly praying, which is a really interesting scene to like imagine. They did have to chloroform her, which I think this is a consistent thing. They have to chloroform her during the pregnancies. However, Olga was born, yay, at 10 pounds.
Oh God,
they get bigger. They get bigger from here. I don't think a single baby is under 10 pounds. Yeah.
Oh my God, that poor woman.
I know. The family was super excited. In my notes, I wrote they had to chloroform her. The mom, not the baby.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So
because you sent that like
yeah.
in a little note channel. I was like, the fuck does that mean?
That's great. We send really unhinged, out of context parts of our notes to each other. It's really fun.
It's like a fun little like sneak peek. Like
yeah,
a while ago, I sent the
oh my God,
cute secondary location joke for Mythos, and I called it.
Oh my God, it's great. Okay, so Nikki and Alex were super happy to have a baby. Nicholas would write, I am glad that our child is a girl. Had it been a boy, he would have belonged to the people. Being a girl, she belongs to us.
Aww.
They were super happy that they had a baby, and they were super happy that they had a girl because they felt like that baby could be like theirs. Now, obviously, everyone's like, maybe you shouldn't have had a bit of girl, but whatever. Now, this shit. Okay, so I'm gonna be jumping really fast through these people's lives. I'm really sorry about that. A lot of people were really happy. The British press was a little bit rude, saying that a daughter was better than nothing, but a son would have been best.
Okay.
I know. Some dude. Okay, I literally wrote this. This dude named Prince Charles of Denmark apparently saw too many witch talk videos and started doing horoscopes. I'm not even kidding you.
Okay.
Early 1896, so she had just been born like a couple months before. He said that she would have health issues in her 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th year. If she made it to 8, she would live to be 20 with 12 years of peace, but she would not live to be 30, which is actually accurate.
Oh, I hated that. She died
at 22. And she had, I think her birthday had like just passed when they died. I don't know, call me that. She spent her last birthday in captivity. I think actually all of them did. By the way, every other fucking kid is born in June.
Okay.
Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia are all born in June, and Alexi's born in July. I'm not even kidding you. Isn't that weird?
I think I hated that.
I know. Apparently Olga was not a cute baby.
Oh no.
I know. They said she had an awkwardly shaped head that was too large for her body, and she was rather chubby. But her parents were just happy that she was there. I think it was also said that she had like a moon-shaped head, which I don't know what the fuck that means. Also, Alex was insistent on breastfeeding her kids, and Olga rejected her, which is pretty par for the course with their relationship. They did not get along.
I mean, oh God, imagine how shitty of a mom you have to be whenever
the other kids took to her just fine. But it was just Olga, I think, that was like, no mommy titty for me. No thank you,
titty.
bitch. No thank you.
No milky.
No milkies. She had a wet nurse, though. Alex insisted that Olga take salt baths every morning to make her strong as possible to carry such a plump little body.
No.
Queen Victoria, which is her great-grandmother, said the baby is magnificent. She was magnificent. Oh my God.
Magnificent.
Shut up. She was a lovely, lively grandchild. Her lady in waiting said she had a broad face and very fat, but with bright, intelligent eyes and a wee mouth and so happy. She was
Oh.
said to be an old soul and behaved very well. She was so cute that many of the royal family would go in just to watch her take baths. Like they were just so happy to like have a little baby, and she was apparently very cute, but also very ugly and also very chubby. Which, I mean, she's 10 pounds, so yeah, that they would literally just like watch her do like the most random tasks, which is so you as a parent, by the way.
What? Just me like
Watching our kid, yeah. You're like, "Ugh, I love my kid so much." You just like sit there and like stare at the kid, and the kid's like, the fuck is wrong?
Okay, to be clear, we don't have kids, not yet,
Not
but
yet.
I would like a baby.
I know.
I'm just
I know. I know. She was a very adaptable baby. She did very well on travel, and she remained calm and content during long trips, which is nice. Nicholas invested a shit ton of money into all of his kids, really. But so much so that people rumored that she was rocked in a mother of pearl cradle, which I don't know what mother of pearl is, and her nappies were fixed with gold safety pins set with pearls.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, they're fucking rich. This family's bloated.
I mean, yeah, there's rich, but then there's also that's a bit too much.
Yeah. She was called a little sunbeam. She was such a happy baby, and she tried to talk a lot. This is very cute baby. November 14th, she was christened. It's also her parents' wedding anniversary. And she was christened Olga Nikolaevna Romanova. Nikolaevna? Whatever. I'm not Russian. So that's her birth. So we're going to get into a little bit of her personality, and then we're going to jump into her family, and then we're going to jump into her love. And oh my God, I'm going to have opinions about her. Okay. People, as she grew up, said that she was very precocious and very friendly. Her friends and most of her family simply called her Olga and nicknamed her Olishka, Olya, or Olenka. At 5 years old, she contracted typhoid. She's going to be sick a lot, by the way. So at 5 years old, she gets typhoid.
Holy shit.
I know. She was kept away from her siblings upstairs in an empty room, but the room itself was like hella warm. Alexandra would spend a lot of time with her, but the stairs were really exhausting for her, so I think she just kind of like hung up out there all day. Unfortunately, her hair had to be cut short because the sickness was making her hair fall out. I don't know that typhoid makes your hair fall out, but apparently they did that a lot. Also, at the very end of their lives, all of the kids got measles and they all were completely shaved bald. There's a photo of it too, and it's really wild.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
At a younger age, Olga loved to have her mother with her, but apparently she was so sick with typhoid that when Tatiana was allowed to come see her, she didn't even recognize Olga.
No.
I know. She loved to read. She was very blunt with what she said, and she kept up with politics by reading the newspaper. She was also a very patriotic person. Again, jumping around a little bit. In July of 1915, while discussing a wedding of an acquaintance with fellow nurses when she was a Sister of Mercy, we'll get into it, she said she understood why the ancestry of the groom's German grandmother had been kept hidden. Of course, he has to conceal it, she burst out. I quite understand him. She may perhaps be a real bloodthirsty German. However, this pissed off her mom, who was born in Germany.
I imagine so.
Yeah. Also, there's this woman named Valentina. She comes up later, but she has a lot to say about Olga. The girls were so sheltered that when they would go out when they were older, when they became nurses, which we'll get into again with the war, she literally did not know how to buy things. They didn't know how to buy things. They had never been out. They didn't know that they needed money. They had to ask a fellow nurse how to spend money. Isn't that fucking crazy?
That
I know, it's ridiculous. Olga was constantly reminded that she had to be the example for her sisters. A lot of the nurses would really try to get her to be like the example for her sisters. But Alexandra was said to have said, "Remember above all to always be a good example for the little ones. Then our friend will be content with you." Our friend usually refers to Rasputin. Try to have a serious word with Tatiana and Maria about how they should conduct themselves towards God. Did you read my letter on the 1st? It will help when you speak to them. You must have positive influence over them. So this is kind of how she's living. She does end up taking a lot of responsibility for the girls. Olga and Tatiana both take a lot of responsibility for the household when Alex is sick. And Alex is sick, like, I swear to God, 90% of the time. Like, every other sentence is like, oh, she was sick and she couldn't make it. Oh, she's sick and she's been up there for 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years, whatever.
Oh no.
She's constantly sick.
That's part of what makes me terrified to be a parent is that because I'm chronically ill. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, what if my kids resent me because I can't physically get to things and
I think it's different. By her 10th birthday, Olga had an inherent awareness of her position as the eldest, and she liked giving the military salute to soldiers standing on guard. People often greeted her as Little Empress. People stopped doing this once Alexei was born. And Alexandra underlined this by demanding that her ladies kiss her hand rather than offer impulsive expressions of affection.
I mean, it. I understand. Like,
She would
it's
also Alexandra would like correct Olga's like behavior with little notes. Like she would leave her little notes being like, "Hey, remember to do
go
this. Remember to don't do
fuck
this."
yourself. Like, I was like, I understand like wanting the predictability of being like, okay, always do this.
Mhm.
But I also understand the culture is
No, literally, one of the maids was like, "Hey, Olga, can you like be like an example and like always be perfect? Like, can you like talk to your siblings and like make them stop doing this?" And Olga was like, "But if I tell them to not do that, then I have to be a good kid too, and I don't want to do that."
Olga literally said, yeah,
but
but
but then she was still caught reprimanding Anastasia later on for being like rambunctious, which is pretty par for the course with Anastasia. I'm
like,
gonna be real with you.
I'm sure it was like, okay, it's to a certain point. Like, you can't do all of that. You can do some of that, not all of that. Tone it down a little bit.
Oh,
Tone
it
it down.
gets to her. It gets to her. When Olga was younger, she was very sensitive to people who were less fortunate than her. It's said that upon seeing a little girl on the street crying after Christmas, Olga said that Santa could not have known where she lived and threw her doll out of the window at the girl, shouting, "Don't cry, little girl, here's a doll for you."
Oh, wait.
Isn't that
That's
sweet?
that's actually so sweet. God, rich people and people in like royalty, like I
These
will
girls
never
are so
understand.
sheltered. These girls are so sheltered. I get into it more with the other girls. Oh my god, they're so sheltered. And I'm jumping around a lot.
Oh, it's okay. I'm mostly keeping on.
Yeah. She was very curious and she had a lot of questions. There was one time where a nurse reprimanded her for being grumpy, using the phrase "you had gotten out of bed on the wrong foot." And Olga asked her which was the right foot to get out with so the bad foot wouldn't make her be naughty today.
Oh,
She's such a
dear God.
shithead.
No, it's literally that was literally me growing up because like one
She's
time
very straightforward, yeah.
my parents like are like, you must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm like, which bed was I supposed to get up on? Because
Yeah.
my bed's pressed against the wall so I don't fall out of it.
Yep. So she was also very grumpy and very bitchy sometimes. Not bitchy, but like difficult. Especially when she was going through puberty. Oh my god. She also had anger issues. Kinda. We'll get into it.
Well, I mean, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It gets worse though when World War One starts. It said that she would always think of the sun, sky, rain, or clouds, or something to do with the heavens. And Nicholas said that she said it was because it made her happy to think of that, and we'll get into why she does in a little bit. Later on, during World War One, or not during World War One, during the war with Japan, the girls were told that the Japanese were only little people. They were told this by Alex. Olga was quoted saying, and I don't believe any, I don't like assign to this logic, by the way. She was quoted saying, "I hope the Russian soldiers would kill all the Japanese." And their aunt, not their aunt, their maid, Margareta, explained to Olga that the children and women were not guilty in the war. And Olga asked a lot of questions about the Japanese people. And then she said, "I did not know that the Japanese were people like ourselves. I thought they were only little monkeys." So
Okay.
she made a mistake, but she was very curious. So it sounds like she had been told, and the thing is the nanny was pissed off that the girls had been like exposed to this level of like racism,
I mean, I am
because
too,
Alex had been like, "Oh, they're just little people." And it's like,
bitch.
"Bitch, the fuck?"
No.
No, literally. Yeah, it's not great. So unfortunately, like I said, Olga was kind of responsible a lot for the younger ones. I think so. A little bit. This is a little bit older. So, at one point, Olga was out with Alexei. They were like just out on the town, and she was like responsible for making sure that he like behaved in public and shit, and didn't like do dumb stuff. Alexei, a brat. Love him, a brat. He tried to climb out of the fucking carriage,
Me.
and when Olga stopped him, he slapped her across the face as hard as he could. And she didn't
Oh, I
say
would have
anything.
punted his ass. I would
She
have.
didn't
Oh.
say anything. She took his hand and she stroked it to like calm him down. And she didn't respond to it at all until she got home, and then she broke down crying in her room.
Oh.
However, it's said that afterwards, Alexei did feel bad about it, and he gave her a portion of his dessert to make up for it. And that he loved his
Okay.
sister so much. He loved Olga so much that if anyone else in the house tried to reprimand him, he would declare that he was Olga's boy. He would only do it if Olga told him to.
Oh.
So it's kind of cute. But yeah, she was kind of responsible for him, especially when Alexandra was out of fucking commission. But since they were kind of branded as the big pair and the little pair, she took care of the younger kids. She felt more probably companionship with Tatiana, but the three younger ones, they were very detached, which is stupid because they're pretty close as far as like age goes. However, Olga and Nicholas were extremely close. They would go on walks together. They would play tennis together. Like they were besties. It's just cute.
I love them. Wait.
Okay, now we get into the sad shit. Okay, so 1903, they go off on a trip with some family members, right? And they're just like hanging out, whatever, by the way, just Jay chilling. They are playing with their cousin Elizabeth. By the way, it took me 30 fucking minutes to figure out who this kid was. I'm not even kidding you. It took me, remember how I told you that there was a girl that was mentioned and she just fucking vanished from history? This is the girl.
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth is the stepdaughter of Princess Alice, who is the second wife of Ernest, Alex's brother.
Mm.
It took me 20 fucking minutes to find who this girl was. It was impossible. If I Googled her mom's name, she didn't come up. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so his first wife, their kid, she gets sick while they're up in this like winter cabin or whatever. The girls absolutely adored playing with her, and Elizabeth loved Anastasia. She got sick, and then 2 days later, she died very suddenly.
Mm.
Very, very suddenly. And I think Olga's probably about 9 at this time. The girls were taken away so that they could be somewhere else, and the place that they were staying at was like deep cleaned. Side note, Alexei was conceived here.
Okay.
Which is terrible. After this, Olga reportedly said that she was upset God had taken away a good friend from her. And after this, she became obsessed with the concept of death and the afterlife at 9 years old.
Oh.
That Christmas afterwards, Alex came down with a terrible ear infection, and she stayed in the vacation home for 6 extra weeks, so she wasn't there for Christmas. And then when she came back, she got influenza.
Okay.
She wasn't able to do anything for Christmas, and the girls were really upset about their mom's sickness because their cousin literally just died not even a month before. So they did not have a good Christmas that year. They literally did not enjoy it at all.
I mean, I wouldn't either.
Yeah. The girls, and specifically Olga, they were really close friends with their aunt Olga, so Nicholas's sister Olga. However, Olga and Olga, besties.
Okay.
So the aunt Olga would note later on that they just didn't have playmates, but they had each other. But she wrote it in a way of like they don't know that they can have more, so they're content with what they have, kind of a thing. Which is sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really sad.
Oh my god. So Olga was said to be better at reading English than Russian, which is hilarious to me. They all spoke Russian very well, but they had a tutor named Gibbs who took over.
Mr. Gibbs.
Mr. Gibbs. He thought that they were high-spirited girls, very simple with their taste, and very pleasant to deal with. But they could be inattentive at times.
Me too.
So, also when they were older, Olga and Tatiana were allowed to sit and talk to Rasputin for like hours. But the little ones weren't, which is interesting. Alex also noted that Olga was very clever, but she did not use her head enough, which is fucking rude in my opinion.
Me.
Okay, so I'm going to go off my notes here for a second because this is information that's just like packed into my head. So World War I starts, right?
Mhm.
Now, remember how I mentioned in the last episode, Alex was kind of raised to do like a lot of nursing and stuff like that?
Mhm.
When World War I started, 1914-ish, the girls, they helped Alex in the hospitals. So they would run around to all these different hospitals and they would go take care of the different people and they would sterilize the equipment and They would at first they would just be like assistants, and then at some points they would like help with the like cleaning of shit, you know? Now
Mhm.
here's the problem. Olga, she just did not handle this well. She had to be there to see a lot of these injuries and these wounds and this whatnot. She had very different emotions from the other girls. She was very open with her emotions. She wore her heart on her sleeve, kind of stuff. So she kind of broke. She kind of snapped really hard. So her mental state from seeing so many people dying, she snapped. She reportedly broke 3 windows with an umbrella and also destroyed items in a cloakroom when she was, quote, in a rage.
Oh,
She literally had a nervous
jeez.
breakdown and started breaking shit. I don't think she could mentally handle the gruesomeness of the war. But also, and I want to point this out to people who are just like, "Oh, she can't handle it." I'm going to start crying 'cause I'm so mad. This is the first time the girls are meeting people from like the outside world. Soldiers who were in the hospitals would report later on that all of the girls asked about the outside life, and they meant anything outside of Alexander Palace where they were living. The girls were
Oh.
not allowed out at all. They actually used to sneak out in their nurse uniforms because they wouldn't be recognized and walk around town. That's when they went out and they weren't able to buy stuff because they didn't know how to spend money. They didn't know how to go into a store and hand someone money for something. They didn't understand that they needed money. That's how sheltered these girls were. They would literally
Oh.
sit there and talk. And I'm not even saying like on shift. Like they would talk to the soldiers, go home and then call the hospital to keep talking to them, asking about the outside life. So the first interactions, and keep in mind Olga's the oldest. So the younger girls have lived way more sheltered lives because they were kind of public facing when Olga was younger. And then Sergei got assassinated, and he got assassinated pretty fucking early on. He was killed in 1905. So, Alexei was just born when this kind of shutdown had happened, but they were already kind of well under wraps. No information was going in and out of this fucking place at all. And Alexandra was so picky on what was going on with the public. So they hadn't really talked to anyone or done much. So Olga kept up with what was going on in the world, but the younger girls, they had no concept of what was going on. So, I mean, this is your first time seeing people from the outside world, and it's men who are, having limbs removed, and they're taking bullets out of these guys, and this is what they're seeing. And Olga's very, very, very loyal to Russia. So this is really hard for her. And she oh my god, this bitch. She falls in love with every fucking man she meets. I'm sorry. She
Ooh.
does. So after this, she was assigned to office work. So she would come in and like take temperatures and stuff like that, but she mostly did stuff on the back end. She would like sterilize equipment and stuff like that, but she couldn't handle it. She physically wasn't allowed to see wounded soldiers anymore if she could help it.
Oh.
She was also given arsenic injections that was thought to help with depression and nervous disorders. Now the
Oh,
problem
so they were
is,
just poisoning her
well, at
slowly.
that time they thought it helped. Now the problem is she's starting to exhibit a lot of the same symptoms as Alex is. She's extremely paranoid and nervous. She ends up starting to get sick a lot. She becomes very faint. So I think whatever Alex had, she kind of gave it to Olga. They're very similar, I think, personality wise. That's probably why they didn't get along.
I don't think necessarily that she gave it. Those things can be hereditary, but I think it's just.
No, I mean, like, not hereditary, she gave it to her. What I'm saying is that she kind of imprinted that onto her. I think she put
Oh.
too much responsibility on Olga, and I think Olga snapped from it. Because Olga was the only one who was really aware what was going on in Russia at the time. She was keeping up with the newspapers. She was old enough to be like aware. Later on, Olga was very aware of the rumors that were going on between that were saying that Alex was having an affair with Rasputin, which was very hard for her. So she was very aware of what was going on in Russia. She knew that the country hated her parents. She took a lot of that. A lot of that. She really, really, really took the brunt of that, which is hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so she also really hated the formalities of like the everything, especially at the hospital. She insisted that people just be casual with her. She said, "It's only at our hospital that we feel comfortable and at ease," which means they don't feel comfortable at home either.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And remember, she's still being pushed to remember to be, you know, a example for her siblings and stuff like that. She also seemed okay with Gregory. She would confide in him about teenage crushes that she had, and all the girls did this. But later on, not so sure. It looks like later on she didn't really like him that much. We'll get into it.
How do you go from liking somebody to not liking somebody at all?
You find out that there's a rumor that he's sleeping with your mom.
Oh, shit.
Olga was she knew a lot about the politics, and she also knew a lot about the financial state of the country. So she kind of knew that there was a big discrepancy between her family and like poverty. She also was very aware of how much people hated her parents. Not so much her. The family, the country actually loved the girls a lot, but they hated the parents. And like, look, to be fair, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I also started to hate Alex at the end of this. It's fine. It's fine. I have opinions. When Olga was 15, so the Standard, it's the Imperial yacht, and they love going on this thing. Oh my god, they eat that shit up. They love going on the Imperial yacht. It's like their favorite thing. So on the Imperial yacht for her 15th birthday, a group of officers gave her a portrait of Michelangelo's nude David. They had cut it out of a newspaper. Apparently, Tatiana wrote that Olga laughed so hard and long, and she said, "And not one of the officers wishes to confess to who had done it." And the Tatiana called them swine because they're so vulgar. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. She's got a big personality. I
Oh,
love that for her. She's a boy's girl.
I love that for her.
Oh my god. Now to her fucking love life. Okay. We've got a couple different people going on. And by a couple, I mean like 6. So the first person that kind of documented took a liking to her is Prince John. I'm not covering his last name. I'm not even trying. I'll try Konstantinovich, whatever. Not Constantinople or Istanbul. So he attended Alexi's christening. She's 9 at this time, by the way, and he's 16. But he said that she was very cute, and he liked her. Her hair was waving and her eyes were sparkling, and he said, "Well, I can't even begin to describe it." He was in love with her for a while. I think the family ended up rejecting him. R.A.P.P.
Aw.
There was also a couple men on the Standard that she got really attached to. Nikolai Sablin. I think there's also a dude with the same name on the boat that Tatiana also had a crush on. Take that as you will. They had a lot of crush on these guys. If
I
I
mean,
sat
if they're
here and
the only
listed,
guys.
if I sat here and listed every fucking crush that Olga had on someone, we'd be here for 50 years.
Jeez Louise.
So the next big one, which I think really exhibits her personality in a different way, is Prince Carol of Romania. There's also a place called Romania in the book, and I don't know if they're separate or if it was a typo, but it's Romania with a U instead of an O. So Romania, R-O. So this dude, a lot of people shipped them together, and Alex and his mom really tried to make it work. So he came and visited them, and he didn't like her. I mean, they didn't like each other, but they still really like Alex and the mom still really wanted these two to be together. So they went and visited Romania. They didn't get the hit the first time. So like, we're gonna try again. So they went and visited Romania. Oh my god, they were there for so long. And Carol was like, "She's ugly."
And you're a little bitch.
Olga just didn't like him. He's kind of a bitch. But afterwards, and he was like, "Oh, their hair is so messy and their skin is so splotchy and dark." And he was like, "Ugh, I can't like any of them, right?" So they took the Standard to get there.
Oh no.
And while they were on the Standard on the way to Romania, they sat out in the sun and purposely tanned themselves and gave themselves sunburns so that they would be so ugly that he physically wouldn't be able to fall in love with any of them. And I think he does actually try to go for Tatiana.
Oh my god. Honestly,
Isn't that
kudos
just
to them.
amazing? Oh my god. I think that's great. They were all just like, none of them liked him. So they were all like, "We're gonna make ourselves as ugly as possible."
I
So
love that for
that he
them.
won't marry any of us. But she was very adamant that she wanted to marry a Russian man and she wanted to remain in her country. and her parents didn't want to force her to marry for someone that wasn't love.
No.
Dmitri, this bitch, Mitya, was her
Hello?
nickname for him.
Okay.
Okay, so she's a nurse, right? At
Mhm.
the hospital, right?
Mhm.
She starts getting hella crushes on hella bitches. Every fucking dude, I swear to God. So, a lot of this is mentioned through Valentina's diary, by the way. So, Olga's golden Mitya was a man named Dmitri, who was a wounded soldier that she cared for while she was a Red Cross nurse. I think they're called Sisters of Mercy. He had been sent back to war and then returned 5 weeks later. So he was like in and out of the hospital, right?
Mhm.
While she was with him, she was like talking to him all the time. Everything was happy, whatever. Patients started to get jealous because she was spending so much time with him, right?
Oh god.
People started
Okay.
to take note of it. And the head doctor was fucking pissed when he found out that this guy was like all up flirting with Olga. 'Cause he's like, that's one of the imperial daughters, dude. You can't do that.
And Olga's like, yes, please do this.
No, literally, like they would pull each other away in the hallway to like talk. Like nothing
Oh.
sexual happened. They would literally just talk. But like they were like there, and there's so many photos of them together. So many photos of them together. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. Whenever he would leave, this is like 1914, by the way. Whenever he would leave, she would get sick. She wouldn't eat.
Oh.
She would cry all the time. She would be heartbroken. She would just have no life in her, and she would spend as little time at the hospital as possible. But then when he came back, he came back 5 weeks later. She's back in the hospital. She's there literally all day just to see him and other people. But like just to see
Just him.
him. Yeah. When he returned, so he came back and he had a leg injury, so his leg was put in a cast. He called it put in plaster, which I thought was funny. But once he was able to walk, he would follow her around like a devoted puppy. And he was
Oh
described as
wait.
very sweet and shy like a little girl, and he would blush whenever he saw her.
Oh my god, wait, I ship them too. I ship them.
Don't
Them.
don't save that for a second.
Oh no.
Dmitri adored Olga, and he talked of killing Rasputin for her if she gave the word. He did not like Rasputin. I'm hoping I didn't mix this up because there's another guy named Dmitri who doesn't like Rasputin.
Nobody likes Rasputin.
There's 3 men who don't like him named Dmitri, I'm pretty sure. Or the other guy who doesn't like him is the guy who kills him. It's a shit show. Anyway, he said that it was his job as an officer to protect the imperial family, even if it was against their will. So if Rasputin ever did anything to hurt her, he'd kill her. Or kill him. Sorry. However, yeah.
But why do I feel like that wasn't a slip? Does he actually try to kill
No.
Olga?
Rasputin? No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
That was genuinely a slip.
Okay, cool. So I was like, excuse me?
However,
Bodo's bended?
this bitch Dmitri apparently one day while drunk started passing around the letters that Olga and him had written to each other. Isn't that so shitty? I think he was just showing it to the guy that was in his room, but isn't that so shitty? Oh my god, Nicholas was pissed.
I would be too, the fuck?
I know. Okay, so he gets sent away again. But this time on purpose. Literally, the hospital was like, these 2 guys, they're getting too close. So they sent both of them away.
Good.
To a different place. I literally wrote in my notes, Olga, we can't keep doing this girly pop.
I mean, honestly, we cannot. Olga, sweetheart, honey, no.
So, again, he leaves, and she is fucking depressed. Oh my god, she's heartbroken. She's devastated. She can't eat. She can't sleep. She's upsetty spaghetti, right?
Mm-hmm.
A letter comes in from him. She's so happy, she literally starts demolishing her room.
Me too.
She starts throwing shit around and jumping on stuff. Like screaming. She literally wrote in her journal, she's like, is it possible to have a heart attack at 20? Girl. Chill the fuck out. I have like 3 more guys on the list, by the way.
Oh no, honey.
So he sends her a letter, right?
Yeah.
He's back in the hospital. Oh my god. Oh no, he's gone again. She was so upset. I literally wrote, she's literally driving me crazy. She documented everything. So apparently there was like a knife at some point that, or a pen or something at some point that he had like held, and she literally searched the entire hospital room for it and like treasured it. She also like celebrated the anniversary, or like noted the anniversaries of like when she changed his wounds for the first time, or like when he left. Like I think she actually kept the calendar page from like the day that he left.
Okay, this is a little bit creepy, girly. I need you to like ease up a little bit.
The last sentence I wrote for him is, "I cannot with you, ma'am."
Like, ma'am, like I understand. I understand. I've been there. I get it. I get it. But we're crossing a bit too much in the creepy pump the brakes.
I lied. There's 4 more guys on the 5. I have 5 more guys. They're not that crazy though. So the next guy, this guy, important guy, Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich of Russia. He's Nikki's first cousin. He was born in 1981. So there's like 4 years between them.
1981?
1891. Sorry.
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm stupid. Okay.
Time's not timing right.
The time is not timing. There was a rumor that Olga and Grand Duke Dmitri were a thing. Oh my god. And another woman wrote down on June 7th that they were actually betrothed the night before. Betrothed the night before.
Oh my god.
Right? The Washington Post that she had rejected Prince Albert at a whatever because she was in love with Dmitri. Apparently, it said, I'm going to read the sentence all the way through and you're just going to have to accept it. Apparently, it said that the engagement was broken off because Dmitri did not like Gregory Rasputin or that he was bisexual and fucking Felix Yasipov, who was, I think, another military guy who was in the hospital.
Hold on.
It's one of those two things. He was either gay and fucking a guy named Felix, which shouldn't we all be? Unrelated. Did you see Felix on the runway?
Stop.
Or he didn't like Rasputin. Side note, it was probably the first one considering he does go on to assassinate Rasputin, so just a hunch.
Oh my god.
There you
God. Hold on. Wait. But there's also a possibility that the second one
he was
is
gay, right? And fucking a guy named Felix, which everyone should be.
You
I keep saying this. Olga was also at the time, like a little bit later on, she was offered to a named Boris, which is, I mean, you can already know that that's bad. He was 38 years old.
Ew.
She was 20, by
Ew.
the way. When they were like, she was like, no. But Alex was like reminiscing. She was like, ugh, it sucks that she has to be offered to someone like Boris because we really wanted her to be with Dmitri, but unfortunately at this time, he was off getting drunk and mixing with the wrong type of people, but they really wanted her to be with Dmitri. That was like their big push. So, next guy, Pavel Voronov. Yeah, Voronov. Pavel, this dude. So he's another one of the officers that came into the hospital. No, I lied. Haha. He works on the Standard. Okay. So this is around the time that she's like falling in love with every other dude on the Standard. So late 1913, she falls in love with this dude. He's a junior officer on the Imperial yacht, the Standard. But it was impossible because of their 2 different ranks. He was a junior officer on the yacht, and she's an Imperial daughter, so she can't be with the officers. Which they fall in love with a lot of the officers on board.
They're the only ones around that's available.
They're like younger than 13 at some point. Like Maria, I think's like 11 when she has a crush on one of the guys who like is on the like torpedo boat that like guards the Standard. Like it's crazy.
Dude, if you're like grew up in like this insanely like isolated like family, and then you like all you have are these guards who are probably very attractive.
Yeah. Oh my god, if a man had a mustache, it was over. Every single dude she had a crush on had a mustache. You know who didn't have a mustache? Dmitri.
That's why he's gay.
No, like perfect handlebar mustache and everything. So does Nikki.
Oh,
Nikki has one too. It's a Russian thing.
Oh.
Nikki looks good with it though. I'm not gonna lie. Nikki looks good. I mean, he's a little bitch. He looks like he pays women to let him call them mommy. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I'm glad you got that out of your system.
I've been saving that for months. I've been like, those people that are like, yeah, he hired me to like hold him and like pretend to breastfeed him and like call him baby or whatever. Like, he reminds me of one of the whatever. Anyway,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry, Nicholas.
You're speaking about a dead man who was
He's a
brutally
saint.
murdered.
He's a saint now, I guess.
Oof. St. Nicholas.
No, not that Saint Nicholas. Another
St.
guy,
Nicky.
Volodia, another man. I don't know who this man is. He was just documented randomly from Alexandra to Nicholas saying he always has a smile or two for her. I don't know who this fucker is, but apparently he was there. There was also another dude named Nikolai who came through the hospital. She had a crush on him. There was also a guy named David who was a Muslim who came through, but he was married. So take that as you will, but he had a great
Girl, you're
mustache.
so messy.
She's so messy. She's so
Why
messy.
are you so messy? You're so messy
She's
and
so
for what?
messy. I know. Trust me. I, Tatiana. So
Your favorite.
I don't know about that. So by the time that Olga was like nearing her first birthday, Alex was already pregnant with Tatiana. So they respectfully they were
They
going
got
at it. Yeah.
busy.
Yeah. December of 1896, Alex was suffering with severe back pains, and they were worried that it was going to have her cause a miscarriage. So again, everything was shut the fuck down. Oh, I lied. She's less than 10 pounds. Tatiana was born June 10th. Now, first of all, I noticed in the last episode I mixed up some of the dates. It's because I keep switching between the new and the old calendar. So if my dates are a little off by like a couple days, it's because of that. Okay, don't come for me.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
because the calendar switchover was probably very jarring for like them,
I
let
also
alone.
I also just straight up forgot that Sergey was Nicholas's uncle last time. I was like, I don't know who this guy is and how they're related. It's Nicholas's uncle. I fucked that up last time.
I love that for you.
I miss Sergey. He's cool. He was probably attractive, right? He probably had a good mustache. Did he?
I don't know. I've never seen pictures of this man. Are you actively looking at pictures of this man to
Oh
determine
yeah.
if his? No.
Oh yeah, he's got a killer mustache.
Okay, put the Russian away.
He kind of looks like my uncle.
Uh,
Yeah, he's got a good mustache. I give him a 2 out of 10. Okay. So June 10th, Tatiana was born weighing 8 and 3/4 pounds.
Ooh.
So still a big baby, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like
that's a
8 or 9 pounds. So yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
good hefty baby.
She was described as very pretty, and she was named Tatiana. She had dark curly hair and large eyes, and she's gorgeous. Tatiana's gorgeous. She looks very similar to her
Oh,
mother. Now,
she
I
sounds
think
like
Olga
such a
looks more
pretty
like her
baby.
mother, but Tatiana, oh my gosh, she's beautiful.
Oh
She
my
really is
gosh.
gorgeous. I promise if you look at a photo of the Romanov sisters, the first person you're going to notice is Tatiana. You immediately, like, your eye
Probably.
immediately goes to her. However, when Alexandra woke up from having Tatiana, apparently she said, "My God, it is again a daughter. What will the nation say? What will the nation say?"
Yikes.
Mm-hmm. After her birth, people seemed very disappointed. They were really hoping for a son. This is the daughter where Nicholas's brother Gregory telegraphed him saying that he was disappointed that he didn't have a nephew, and he was saying, "I was preparing to go into retirement, but it was not to be." That's her.
No.
When she went to go visit, she said Alex was nursing Tatiana just fine, and that Tatiana and Alex looked like two peas in a pod. Now, Nicholas didn't show any outward signs of disappointment. The Boston Daily Globe reported that the Tsar was taking it very hard that he had yet again been denied a male heir.
Oh, go fuck yourselves, dude.
No, literally. She was described as a very beautiful child. Her eyes were very large and dark. She was always happy, and she only cried once a day without fail after her bath when they fed her.
Oh.
Me too. Their tutor, Pierre, who I think was their French tutor, he said that Tatiana was very calm and fairly lazy, which mood. He appreciated her frankness and that her and her sister did not try to hide her faults. At 8 years old, Tatiana was pale-skinned, slender, with dark auburn hair, and her eyes were gray compared to her sisters who were like very blue.
Mm-hmm.
She was very beautiful, a living replica of her mother. She was said to have fine bones. She looked very enchanting. She was just gorgeous. She was described to have the body of a mannequin. She was very thin. She cared a lot about what she was wearing, about her looks, about how she was perceived, but she wasn't vain. She just cared a lot. She was very emotionally cautious. She was very reserved, and this actually comes in big later. She did not have the same temper that Olga did. She was very, very reserved, and she was very devoted to her mother, which is very different than Olga, who just did not get along with Alex. They butted heads a lot. And it's said that Alexandra always confided in Tatiana. She also did the same thing with Anastasia. She was very close to those two. She was a very polite girl. She was a naturally born organizer with a methodical mind, and she had a down to earth manner that her sisters could not match. They called her the governess Tatiana.
Okay, well,
She was
rude.
very gifted at needlework, just like her mother. She was very sensitive to others and what they did for her. She unfortunately was there to witness the assassination of the government minister Stulpin. So remember the guy who was like in a room when a bomb went off and he carried his kids out?
Yeah.
He got assassinated a few years later.
Oh.
So Olga and Tatiana were out at a performance. They were out of the theater and they had stepped out for tea or something like that. And Nicholas was basically like, it's way too hot in this, like, in their little, like, theater box. So they stepped out. While they were in the lobby of the theater, they heard two sounds. And when they rushed back in, someone was getting dragged out of the theater, and Nicholas immediately went to go to Stulpin because he saw that he'd been shot. The girls actually tried to hold him back, but Nicholas was like, no. I think they were scared he was going to get shot too.
Oh.
Now, he didn't die there. He actually was okay enough to walk out of the theater, but one of the bullets had hit his liver or something like that. He ended up dying a little bit later, but both of them were there to witness it, and it said that both girls cried a lot, and they both had issues sleeping after that. So, but
Oh,
Tatiana was,
poor babies.
yeah, Tatiana was very, very close to her mother. I do want to read this conversation though because this makes me angry. So at one point, Alex was really sick. She couldn't make it to dinner. So Tatiana Roan said, I hope you won't be today very tired and that you can get up to dinner. I'm always so awfully sorry when you are tired and when you can't get up. Perhaps I have lots of faults and forgive me. I try to listen when people say that I should sleep and blah, blah, blah. Like she's basically being like, I'm so sorry. Like, I love you. Like, I'm hoping that I'm good enough for you. And Alex says, try to be as good as you can and not cause me worries. Then I will be content. I really can't come upstairs and check how things are with lessons. How are you behaving and speaking? Which is very different than how she talks to Olga. Just want to point that out there.
Hmm?
So, as she grew up, Tatiana was considered to be the most beautiful of the sisters. It's ironic because Alex was also considered to be the most beautiful of her sisters too. In World War I, she joined her sisters and her mother in taking care of the soldiers. She would also do this on top of her lessons. So she would keep up with it a lot. She had a very busy schedule. It took the girls a long time to kind of get used to strangers because they hadn't really been around people, but it took Tatiana even longer. She was having a lot of issues. Valentina recalled Tatiana saying that it's awful how self-conscious and scared I feel. I don't know who to say hello to and who not. She's the like imperial daughter and she's having social anxiety over who to talk to. During the war, all the girls were set up with their own little committees to like help out with the war. Tatiana's was very, very successful. She had a very active role in the committee, so she would set up shelters, soup kitchens, maternity homes, and refugees for orphans of war. In 1916, the war was getting a lot worse. Her committee actually worked on registering refugees and trying to reunite them with their families. So people who were escaping from the war, children of war, stuff like that, she was trying to register them and then try to reconnect them with their families that they had been displaced from because people were coming in from everywhere.
Oh.
Tatiana also hated formalities. It said that during a meeting when someone addressed her as Your Imperial Highness, she became visibly embarrassed. She looked at me in astonishment, and when I sat down next to her again, she gave me a sharp nudge under the table and whispered, Are you off your head or what to address me in that way? She hated the formalities. She would rather just be called her normal name, especially at the hospital and especially in the committee. Which is
Mood.
interesting given everything that they've been dealing with, how formal they're forced to be at home and they get to a place that they can control and they just want to be normal people.
Makes sense.
She really, really, really shined during the times of war, which sucks. She was very, very reserved and she was able to kind of keep her emotions to herself in a way that made it very, very helpful for her. She could handle a lot of the really intense surgeries. She was taught how to give anesthetics to patients to be able to like do surgeries. She could dress wounds just fine. Like she could be in the midst of all of it and she was still very methodical. She was able to work very clearly. She's very focused. She's literally the exact opposite of Olga. They couldn't be more different. Sometimes she was considered a little too bossy and serious, but she was always willing to help others, and she was very tolerant of her mom. She never snapped back at people. A lot of the patients at the hospital said that she was born to be a nurse because she could just take it in strides, man.
She sounds so sweet.
Oh my god, I love her. Okay, so the first guy that I kind of mentioned in here is Nikolai. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm so sorry. A dude named Nikolai. This is the guy that had the same kind of name as the person that Olga had gotten attached to. However, so he was an officer on the Standard. He's a lot older than her. I have this photo, and I'm going to see if I can get it up on Instagram. But it's a photo that is supposedly taken, legend has it taken, of Olga and the Imperial officer, and they're sitting back to back. And they were, I guess, fighting or something, and he was trying to get them to to reconcile. So he took this photo of them, and it's just so stinking cute. Like, you can tell that they just think this is the goofiest thing, and it's so pretty. But he was one of the imperial officers that she had gotten attached to. Serbian King Peter I, he wanted his son Alexander to marry one of the daughters, and the prince was originally introduced to Tatiana. However, negotiations about marriage were interrupted by the beginning of World War I, so that went nowhere. Yay! There was another dude that she got attached to just for a little bit. His name was Volodya. There wasn't much about him except for the fact that he was a lady killer.
Oh, yikes.
I literally wrote, oof, he was a lady killer, yikes, in my notes. I think, was one of the ones that was sent away because it was too much. So, now we have Dmitri Malama.
There's another one.
There's like 50 Dimitris, dude. So he was a guardsman from her regiment. So they were all gifted regiments, like military groups that they would look over. He was from her regiment. This is the one that I started crying on, so I'm really sorry.
Oh no, don't do this to me.
So he kind of became a legend in the hospital because he had saved, I think, one of his comrades from a burning, a fire. I don't know if it was a house fire or something like that. They became really close, and he gave her a French bulldog named Ortino. Now, she named the dog after his horse that he would ride in the guard. However, unfortunately, apparently the dog died not long afterwards. So he gave her another one. Supposedly, this dog came with her to Siberia and it was killed with the rest of the family.
No.
I know. Alexandra really liked him, though, and said that he would be a good son-in-law. She talked about him a lot and said that he would be perfect for Tatiana if only he was of royalty. Which drives me fucking crazy.
Jesus Christ.
So, in the Civil War, it said that he took the part against the Bolsheviks, so against the people that killed the Romanovs. When he learned about the assassination of the family, he joined the military and he was killed a year after. He was killed fighting. And it's kind of said that he died fighting for her.
Oh.
That's the part where I broke down crying. It made me so sad. Because it was literally, the way that it was written is that he desperately sought death and was killed by the Reds in 1919, which is a year after she died. And the Reds are the ones that killed them. It's so sad, isn't it? Oh my god. There was another dude named Vladimir. Maybe this is actually, I think this is the same guy. The lady killer guy, I think his name was actually Vladimir. Oh my god, it was. I wrote it in 2 different places.
Oh my god.
He was a lieutenant. He was a second lieutenant in the 3rd Guard Rifles Regiment. That's him. So anyway, I'm fine. Just crying over Dimitri. It's whatever. So Maria, this is the middle child, technically. 2 above her, 2 below her, right? The pregnancy for Maria was extremely uncomfortable. Apparently, Maria was laying in a way that really aggravated Alex's sciatica, which, tag yourself. June 26th of 1899 at 12:10 p.m. I don't know why I have that information. She was born at 10 pounds. Woo! She was named Maria in honor of her grandmother. Soon after she was born, Nicholas left for a long, solitary walk. He then returned and wrote down in his journal that it was a very happy day. But he fully left the palace, and took a long walk. Everyone was upset.
I mean, I imagine too.
Victoria said, I regret the 3rd girl for the country. I know an heir would be more welcome than a daughter. It just gets worse from here. But every single girl after Olga was great, another daughter. Great, another daughter. Like, every single time that they were born, Russia was like, kind of getting pissed off. Not with the girls, but with Alex. I'm gonna mention this more in Alexi. I'm gonna mention all this shit. But after Maria was born, there was a rumor. So Alex met with Nicholas and said, 6 daughters have been foretold unto me, and half the prophecy has been fulfilled today.
Oh.
Yeah. They also hated her for being German. They thought that she was like the German woman that was purposely trying to screw over Russia.
Me.
After Maria was born, people really liked to shit on Alex. Oh my god, they were really shitting on Alex. They were pissed at her.
That's so mean.
The nanny, Margareta, she said that Maria was very good. And she said, I often think with the smallest trace of original sin possible. A real beauty, very big eyes, very big with enormous blue eyes. Maria was left-handed, fun fact. She was a very skilled artist. She was a lot like Alexander, or her grandfather, Alexander II, in the sense that she liked to show off her strength by picking up her tutors. she was a strong girl. She would literally throw her tutors around. Remember how Alexander, when he was at parties, his like favorite trick was like lifting shit and like being a big, strong Russian man? She was very much like her grandfather.
Oh.
She hated school, but she was a sweet girl and kind. She never got into trouble. So much so that it said that the girls called Maria their stepsister because she was nothing like them. However, they often made her cry because of this.
Rude.
Her mother remarked that she was very lazy and she would yell at people who irritated her, especially when she was on her period. They nicknamed her Fat Little Bow Wow since she was a little bit heavier. It said that on the Imperial yacht, she would sit and read and eat sweet biscuits. So they bullied her for being fat. I can't believe they called her Fat Little Bow Wow. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
However, being the middle child, so she was technically part of what Alex would call the little pair with Anastasia, but it made more sense for Anastasia and Alexei to be the little pair. She was smack dab in the middle, and she really had that middle child syndrome. She did not think that her parents liked her at all. She felt like she didn't get as much love as her siblings, and she wrote this down in her journal. She said she didn't feel like she got enough, as much love to her siblings, and she really felt like her mom favored Anastasia the most over her. She
The
tried to
more I
become.
hear about Alex, the more I understand her, but I don't
You're
like
gonna
her.
whoa, 2 seconds. Let me finish the sentence and then you can go on a rant because this is gonna piss you off more. So she felt like she couldn't be close to her siblings, right? She tried to make friends with her cousin Irene. Her mom warned her against this, saying it would make her sisters feel like she didn't love them. So she actually is trying to make friends, and her mom's like, "You don't want your sisters to think you don't love them."
What?
Isn't that
No.
ridiculous?
I.
You're gonna hate her by the end of this episode. By the way, because I haven't even gotten at how the sisters lived. This is just their personalities. It gets worse when I go back up to the top of my notes and talk about, oh my god, I'm gonna get pissed because I was pissed.
Oh God.
However, Maria and Nicholas, also very close. Nicholas was really close to his daughters. Really, really close to his daughters. He was gone when she came down with measles, and he was supposed to come back at some point, and she refused to fall asleep, saying that she wanted to be awake when her father came home, to the point that she literally would pass out from exhaustion. She wanted to wait for her dad to get home.
Oh no.
So during the war, the 2 older sisters would go to the main hospitals. A smaller hospital was created near Alexander Palace, which is where they were staying. So the 2 younger sisters took over that one. So Maria and Anastasia, they took over that hospital. They would walk around and talk to the patients, and they would help the patients who were unable to read. So they would help them read and write letters. However, the girls also would have a lot of issues with their patients dying. So even at a really young age, they were still kind of subjected to all of this. Now, keep in mind, they're probably around 14. I think Anastasia's probably around like 12, 14, that kind of range. They also had a lot of fun at this hospital, but the soldiers that would go through there said that it was the coziest hospital they had been in. They like made it so cozy. They had like a little fireplace going. They made it they were like, it's a home away from home. Like it just felt so nice to be there because the girls put so much effort into making it like cozy for the people. Isn't that cute?
Mm-hmm.
So during World War One, Anastasia and Maria would consistently go to the cemetery where their soldiers had been buried when they died at the hospital, and they would lay flowers on their graves. They were also very worried about the war, specifically about the hunger that was going on with the common people, and they were worried that people did not know if their fathers and brothers were still alive on the front lines. So these girls really, really felt for the people. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I don't know why I forgot to mention this. So back to Tatiana. They had actually to raise money to be able to like fund stuff for the committee, they had thrown like a celebration at a party. They were selling like autographed portraits of Tatiana, and men would buy like 50 of them and like wear them around their necks like badges. And all of the money would go to the refugees. Like all of it would go to the committee to help for the war. But that's how the people saw them. Like the girls, they were not visible to the public. Outside of portraits, they almost never saw the girls. It's ridiculous. I'll get into it later. I forgot to mention that because it was part of the committee thing. So after Prince Carol, the dude that they made themselves ugly for, after Olga denied his ass, he tried to get with Maria.
Rude.
Right. Nicholas said no because she was still a child. Points.
Good.
However, apparently she fell in love with an officer on the torpedo boat that guarded the Imperial yacht. She asked Nicholas if she could date him. I didn't see if he said yes or no. But when he went to the front lines in World War I, she would sew him shirts and send them to him.
Aw.
She also had a crush on a guy named, again, Nikolai Demenkov. He was an officer in the guards equipage. I can't fucking read that. Anastasia would write notes to Nicholas during this wartime because he was out with like the military. Him and Alexei were. So Anastasia was writing notes back and forth between her, like between them, because the Olga and Tatiana, they were so busy they didn't have time to like write notes. And Anastasia, I'm sorry, I'm gonna mention this to Anastasia too, but she was gossiping. Fully gossiping, and she was such a shithead too. She made fun of Maria's crush and called him Fat Demenkov.
You can't just say those things. You can't just say those
so
things.
Funny. We're gonna jump back a little bit. Standard. So they would go on the Standard for like vacations and stuff like that. It was like their second home. They loved the Standard. All the girls did. I'm just gonna give this a little bit of a taste of what their life was like. So the girls at first, when they were younger, they would share really small cramped cabins on the lower deck. I don't know if anyone's been on a boat before. I grew up on boats, but if you've ever been on a sailing boat, they would stay at the very, and these Imperial yachts, by the way, they're not like our level of yachts. These are fucking ships. Imperial yacht, my ass. This thing's the size of the fucking Titanic. Probably like half that. But it's a big ass boat. It's got like those big columns on it. I'm not even kidding you. This thing's huge. So they would share really cramped cabins in the lower decks of the boats with their maids. So they would be bunking with their maids. The parents figured that this was more than enough room for them. But when they got older, they were given bigger cabins up on the Imperial deck. However, these cabins were still smaller than the suite that they had set aside for Alexei.
What the hell?
Mm-hmm. But the girls didn't mind it anyway. They were often up on the sun deck. They would play games. They would roller skate around. And each one of the kids was assigned like a Imperial guard, like a bodyguard. It was one of the deckhands. They ended up having a crush on all their deckhands. They would call them uncles. They were pretty shy around the crew at first, but eventually they would literally just sit there and listen to these guys talk for hours. Like they loved these guys. When they, I think, had to leave the Standard, every single time they would break down crying because they were so upset to leave. Whenever the girls had to go ashore, they would sit in the boats with them and like help row them, help with the oars. Like they just liked being there with the crew. They would get up early to watch the crew rise the flag in the morning. And the crew also adored the girls. They would address them by name. It was very cute.
I love them.
I know, it's so sad. Pierre Gillard, he's really important later on. He mentioned that when they were like doing the nursing stuff, he said they weren't just dressed up as nurses, they truly were acting as Sisters of Mercy. They really threw themselves into nursing and they really, really, really appreciated it. Nicholas, when the girls got older, to compensate for the fact that their mom was never fucking there, he would take them out to the theater all the time because he was aware of the fact that Alex was an absent mother. So he would take them out literally all the time. When they were younger, the very rare times that the girls were away from their mother's fucking chokehold and they were allowed to go out on the street and like run around St. Petersburg, they were often really unruly and they would jump on the seats, stand up, and bow to passersby when they were little kids. They were given really fucking bland food as well. So I have their routine written down here. I'm just going to read it verbatim. So the children would eat breakfast upstairs in their nursery and had plain food that was very common amongst English families: porridge, bread, and buttermilk. Have you ever had buttermilk? It sucks ass, by the way.
Yeah. Ugh.
I tried to drink buttermilk straight once, thinking it was a good substitute for regular milk. That was a mistake.
Yeah, no, that's your own fault. My papa used to do the same thing. Like he would be like, "Here, try this," and I tried it, and I was like, "Ugh."
Yep. Once they reached 8 or 10 years old, the girls were considered well behaved enough to join their parents at the adult table downstairs. And Nicholas and Alex, they were able to come see Nicholas and Alexandra on invitation only, but they were allowed to come talk to their mom whenever they needed. But Alex preferred to have the afternoons just to herself and Nikki.
I don't like that.
At night, they would play board games and card games, and Nicholas would often read aloud to them. It said that they were never bored. Alex always had something for them to do. They just lived very like basic lives. They were outside a lot. They had very basic toys. It's actually really heartbreaking because Nicholas would read to them every single night up until they were murdered.
Oh no!
He
Don't give
would
me that
they would
information.
request books to be brought in so that he would just keep reading the same books over and over and over again. He read to them every single night out loud until they died. There's actually a list of all the books that they read out loud. It's really
Please don't.
sad. It's really
Please don't
sad.
do that to me. Don't do that to me.
I'm sorry. In the wintertime, the girls would go out on the frozen ponds nearby and like skate around on them, but their favorite thing to do was they would build this massive fucking hill of snow in the backyard. Like the officers and guards of like the palace, they would come out and build this massive thing. And then whenever their nannies weren't looking, they would take a sled and they would run up to the top of the hill, and the nannies would like be there to like, oh, you can't go too fast. And then when the nannies weren't looking, they would throw themselves down the hill on the sled as fast as they could.
Me too. Just me. You.
The
You
nannies
don't do
literally,
that.
oh my god, they were like, they would literally terrify. They would scream in terror. They're like, oh my god, like what the fuck are you doing? They would also get reprimanded for screaming too loud in Russian in the wintertime.
Why is that literally you? You will tell me not to do something, and
You
you'll
do it
turn
anyway.
around, and
Yeah.
I'm like in the middle of it, and then you start screaming like, "What are you doing?"
Oh my god, you're such a pain in my ass.
I love you.
Me too. The kind of games that they would play were absolutely ridiculous. One of the games that they would play is they would turn off the lights, and one of the girls would lay on one of the steps. And whenever the other girl would walk down the steps, the girl that was laying on the steps would tackle her and tickle her, and then they would like fall down the stairs together. Like they would literally bash their head on the stairs going down it. They were shitheads. The girls, however, were always dressed in very cheap white dresses, according to the people, English stockings, and plain light shoes. Their rooms were kept at a moderate temperature, and they always went out for fresh air. They did a lot of hand-me-downs, a lot of hand-me-downs. They would have the dresses altered to fit the younger girls, and they had very basic clothes. They wore a lot of white for some reason. Alex had them dressed in a lot of white in their imperial photos. I don't know what the fuck she was on. I mean, they were gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but like, geez. But yeah, a lot of very basic clothes. They had to clean everything themselves. Like a lot of people were really surprised when they would meet the girls because they were surprised that the girls lived such basic ass lives compared to the fact that they were literally Russian royalty. And it's because Alex was such a frugal person. But they were still chaotic at home. They would play the piano and sing really loudly, especially Anastasia. She would just start screaming in the middle of the song.
Me too.
She was so sad. Alex would dress the girls in informal uniform colors. So the big pair and the little pair, she would basically like dress them up like similarly. So Alex would also address them as kind of like a uniform collective. And it kind of started a trend where the whole family would kind of refer to them as a whole collective instead of like individual people. This is the part that's going to piss you off. So they shared rooms. So the big pair and little pair, they shared a room together. Their bedrooms were very simple. They slept on like camping beds, like the foldable portable camping beds, like cots. And some places said that they didn't even sleep with pillows.
Okay, what the fuck?
I know. They took cold baths in the morning, but they were allowed warm baths in the evening. The girls would dress themselves. She would make them make their beds and clean their rooms. And any special, really nice toys that their family would send were only brought out during special occasions.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Something about this doesn't feel right, but
I know. Nicholas was always there to hang out with his kids, though. He spent a lot of time with his kids. But yeah. But Alexei had whatever he wanted. So there's that.
oh, God, I don't like that.
I know.
I don't.
I know. When it came to their education, Alexandra taught them English. She spoke majoritively English. She would teach the girls needlework at a very young age. And a lot of their, oh my God, these poor tutors, they were terrorized by these girls. So some of the tutors, one of the guys, they would literally shout at him, laugh, pull him around, and generally just like haul him around the room with no mercy. It was said that like Olga and Tatiana, they would be very like shy and like reserved when they were studying, but the moment that the teacher stepped out of the room, they would fucking bolt. Olga would literally like jump on furniture and like race around the room. They would just like tear up the house, and then the moment that the teacher came back in the room, they were just sitting there like nothing happened.
I love them.
They're such shitheads.
I love them so much.
Now, another thing that really unnerved a lot of the tutors was Alex would sit in on their lessons until she felt satisfied that they were doing good enough for their job, and then she would have one of her ladies in waiting come and sit in on the lessons to like watch.
It's giving surveillance.
Yeah.
And I'm not thrilled by that.
So there's another incident that I think it's important to note. Rasputin didn't have any sexual encounters with the girls that we know of. However, there was an instance that we know of. However, there was an instance where Xenia, she became aware of the fact that the girls were introduced to Rasputin when he was allowed to come into the nursery. And they were still in their nightgowns, which is like very, very informal. No, they were allowed to come in there.
I wish you could see my face right now. It's not.
I know. They were getting ready for bed, and he would just sit in there and talk to them. Now, Xenia was pissed at this. She was pissed at Alex for letting the children be around Rasputin, especially in the nursery when it's like, and I don't know if they were chaperoned. So it said they're careful to hide him from Sophia, which I think is one of the nurses. And the children don't dare talk to her about him. It's all quite unbelievable and beyond understanding. Afterwards, when this was kind of like brought out, Nicholas was like, hey, you can't go talk to the girls in the nursery anymore. Like, it's pissing people off. Also,
this doesn't feel.
Nicholas
this feels
didn't
gross.
really like Gregory, it seemed, or he just kind of put up with him. But it was kind of one of those, like, he was just too tired to like argue with Alex. Alex was obsessed with Rasputin. So another thing, I was gonna include this with Rasputin, but I'm bringing it up here. So Maria, who was one of the nurses for the royal family, she was one of the first devotees to Rasputin, but she was later disillusioned with him after she claimed that he sexually assaulted her in the spring of 1910.
Oh no!
Alex refused to.
This is one of the maids, right? Not Maria, the daughter, right?
No. Maria is one of the nurses for the family. So I think each of the children had a different nurse.
Okay.
She was one of the first people who was really, really, really enthralled with Rasputin, and she was later like, he assaulted me. Alex didn't believe her and said that everything that Rasputin did was holy. Grand Duchess Olga, which I think is the sister, she was told of Maria's claim and she immediately began investigating it. But they had caught the young woman in bed with someone of the Imperial Guard. And so instead, Maria was dismissed from her position.
Okay, but that doesn't matter. Like, they can, one relationship can be consensual and the other one can't. Like, it's very simple.
Well, also, it was just said that she was caught in bed. We don't know under what circumstances. She's a nurse, and she was caught in bed with one of the Imperial Guards who was guarding the palace.
Okay.
So
I still fail to see how. And I'm sure the fucking Imperial Guard was allowed to keep his job.
Yeah, and Rasputin wasn't kicked out of the palace.
So I fail to see how that's her mate. It was a different time. Can't change it.
I'm going to talk about their kidnapping and the kind of end of how the girls were treated by the world after in episode 5, but I'm going to mention this now. After the girls were after the family was kidnapped, pornographic cartoons were circulated depicting Rasputin having sexual relationship with the empress and her 4 daughters.
That's disgusting. That actually makes me feel sick.
Keep in mind, like, these girls were young.
I know.
And I think at that point in time, I think most of the girls were underage. Now, I'm not 100% certain if that only happened during the war. It was brought up during the war, but I think that might have actually been happening because Olga was aware of the rumors that were going around that her mom and Rasputin were having an affair. So I think around that time is when those cartoons started to come out, and they were not that. I think most of the girls were underaged at that point, like under 18 by our standards, underaged. But a lot of people were suspecting that Rasputin was being sexual with the girls. A lot of the girls would confide in him, and a lot of people that were around the family were like, hey, like, you're like Rasputin, who's like an old man, was openly having conversations about sex with Olga. So, you know, take that as you will. And Olga didn't like him. After he was assassinated, she was kind of like okay to write down, like, I don't really feel comfortable about this guy. And she kind of was aware of the fact of how much of an influence he was having on Alex. But he's dead now, so it's fine. But, you know, to be fair, the guy who killed him was Dmitri, who said, hey, Olga,
You
I'll
want me to
kill.
kill
Do you want me
that
to kill
guy?
that guy for you?
Like, honestly, though, like, I don't know. There was something.
This is the big reason why I don't want to cover Rasputin, because he makes me very, very uncomfortable. And I understand that he's a big part of the family. And I understand that I'm probably going to have to cover him just to give you guys an idea of how much Rasputin really fucked over the country, because they were so close, first of all, that the whole country was convinced that they were together. Like, Alex and them were together. But on top of that, like, he was influencing her on political stuff that he had no place to be influencing her on. And Nikki couldn't do anything. What's he going to do? Argue with his wife who's like sick and dying? And towards the end of her life, Olga was also sick. She was consistently like faint. She was so stressed and anxious with all of her emotions that she literally was put on the same health regimen that Alex was. She would have to sit all the time. And she came down with like measles. All the kids got really sick towards the end of their life. And so it was just so much stress on the girls. And this is after Rasputin was dead. Like, it just, the moment that he dies, like, everything goes to shit. Like, it really feels like he had such a chokehold in the moment that he died. Whatever chokehold he had, it just ruined the family. Like he cursed them or something. Which is really,
Honestly,
it reminds me a lot of Adolfo. Rasputin and Adolfo feel very similar to me,
they
where
do.
it was really weird how Rasputin was able to just like magically heal Alexei. But I also want to point out that at the time, the medicine they were giving Alexei was the modern day version of aspirin, which is a blood thinner. So, but it is weird. There's a lot of instances where people should have died, and Rasputin was able to step in, and within a week or so later, they were miraculously okay. Happened a
Yeah.
lot with Alexei. A
Well,
lot with Alexei.
with, like, for instance, with Rasputin, I imagine the relationship on, like, their relationship is incredibly unhealthy, but, like, with most unhealthy relationships, if it doesn't end with one party or another willingly leaving, it tends to implode on itself because
Hmm.
nobody in that situation is ready for it to end, and nobody knows how to exist without it. So it just kind of.
People towards the end of their life, and again, this is also stress that Olga was having to handle too. People towards the end thought that Rasputin was a spy, and that
Oh,
him
jeez.
and Alex were colluding,
Oh, God.
because at that point they were at war with Germany.
Which had to have sucked, because, I mean, I imagine, like, the people are like, oh my gosh, she's German and we're at war against
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah. No, it was really hard. And the thing was is Alex was so pro Russia. She was so pro Russia. But, you know, and it sucks cuz her family's German. So she's literally caught up in the middle of this war, and she's giving all she can for her family, her Russian family, and the whole country is still against her. But to be fair, and this is what sucks, if I was a common folk back then, I also would have hated Alex, because we don't see any of you at all. We don't see any of your daughters, you know. And also, they didn't tell anyone that Alexei was sick. People thought that Alexei was like paralyzed from the waist down. People thought he was a changeling. I'll get into it next episode.
Oh shit.
Like, and
Changelings.
I know, but like that's like a serious thing back then. Like they really thought he was a changeling. But she didn't say anything about what's going on with the family. And then Nicholas is still running around with this ridiculous fucking idea that the people are just gonna follow whatever he wants because it's his God-given right to be czar.
Oh
Like,
my
he
god.
actually made a lot of really bad decisions with that logic, and it really turned the people against him, and their only hope was the girls. The girls were the only part of them that they liked. They were pissed off at Nicholas because he was doing bad at his job, and they were pissed off at Alex because she was this paranoid, sick German princess who walked into Russia, had 4 daughters who they loved, but had 4 daughters, birthed a son who they thought was a freaking, respectfully, like a cripple, you know, like literally they were calling him a cripple. And then, you know, they send Russia into this horrible poverty, and then Alex turns around and says, "Oh, they'll get over it. They're just whiny teenagers."
Oh my god. They
And had the people known how the girls were living, they probably would have been more pissed off because I'm sure Alexei wasn't sleeping on a cot. I'm sure
No, of course
Alexei
he
didn't
wasn't.
have toys that he could only get when it was holidays.
No,
Alexei got an imperial suite on the fucking Standard and they had to sleep in cabins. And look, maybe I'm misconstruing history, but from my perspective, these girls were severely unloved by their mother.
it sounds like it. Like it.
It gets so much worse with Alexei. Oh my god, it gets so much worse.
Okay, so my on my end, my tech like bugged out in the middle of like recording.
Yeah, it did.
So
It's
just
like a week later.
yeah. So here's the thing. I don't remember what I was talking about. I do remember I was about to fucking
Go the
rage
fuck off.
on fucking Alex. Because
Mhm.
here's the thing.
I'm so ready.
Parentification is something that should not and cannot be a thing anymore.
Mhm.
Because it's genuinely not fair to Olga at all. She's the
Mhm.
oldest, right?
Yeah, she's the oldest.
And then you kind of see it trickle down to the other daughters as well. Like, at least from what I can see, like, if her little princey boy Alexei doesn't, no, it's not Alexei. It's Alexei, right?
It's Alexei.
Alexei. If he doesn't get his fucking way, she fucking goes nuts.
Mhm.
So she's like a fucking TikTok boy mom.
No, literally, it gets worse in the next episode when I talk about like Alexei, especially when he was younger. Oh, it's bad.
Oh god. Okay. I'm
I know.
Okay. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
I don't think you are.
I am. I promise I am. But also I'm doing this to myself too. So,
Um,
you know, we're here.
we're here, we're queer, we're trying to get this thing to work.
Yeah, we are. Anyway, that episode way too long. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking forward to next episode. I know you're not looking forward to next episode, so nobody's looking forward to next episode.
My God. It's not that I'm not looking forward to next episode. It's just that there's so much shit. Oh my God. It's so weird. The episode's so weird.
Yeah, no. Next episode is going to be very long on my end too, so
Mine's
I
not
will-
going to be long. It's just going to be like a lot.
yeah, mine's long and a lot. There's like a lot of information that's going to be thrown at y'all, and I'm so sorry for that. But also I'm not. I also would not recommend eating after a certain point in my part, because like if you eat after a certain part, you're gonna regret it.
Do as I say, not as I do. I am actively eating.
Yeah, no, you're gonna regret that.
Speaking of which, if I promise to buy you Thin Mints, can I have the rest of the box upstairs?
Yeah,
Thank you.
you owe me. Actually, no. You know what you can buy me instead of Thin Mints? Samoas.
Deal.
Thank you. I need my coconut crack that you physically cannot have.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you keep your Girl Scout cookie safe. Get something that the other one is allergic to.
Like you're trying to kill me or something.
No.
You're like, that's the whole point, is that you don't eat it. Like
Oh,
if I
what?
eat it and you bought it, it's your fault. You tried to kill me.
I did not. Don't put that evil on me.
Well, it's true.
It is. No, don't put that evil on me. Don't do that to me. Anyway, stay safe, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.
I have no one to
Bye-bye.
curse this time. Bye.
Oh, that's a first. Bye.
Bye.